օTsutsuki Naruto. Left Eye Reincarnation, Right Eye Reincarnation. Chapter 1. The 100th anniversary of Konoha, which is a full 100 years since the establishment of Konoha village by first Hokage Senju Hashirama, should be a day worth celebrating. But at the moment the entire Konoha village is empty. There are dilapidated buildings and desolate scenes everywhere. The original spring day, at this moment, seems to have entered the depression of autumn. The leaves do not know when they have already withered. The dense vines spread from the end of the world to the other end of the world. In the old Hokage office, the walls have long been divided, and there are densely entwined withered branches. The 7th Hokage Vortex Naruto, who is over half a century old, sits quietly, looking at the withered world outside the window, and the sky in the sky. A huge truth-seeking ball that expands almost infinitely. At this moment, the entire ninja world has completely withered, and the more powerful sacred tree from օTsutsuki Yara has swallowed all the energy of the entire ninja world at this moment. But now all humans and even creatures in the entire ninja world have completely died. Even the 3 eternal holy places have been broken. He survived, but it was Xuanmu's last resort to save his life. But that was just a desperate struggle. In other words, it just delayed the death time by tens of seconds. Tens of seconds later, when this truth-seeking ball, which is almost the size of the Earth, falls, the entire world will completely disappear in this starry sky. This time there will be no possibility. Even if he once created miracles one by one. At the age of 17, he and Sasuke defeated the almost immortal օTsutsuki Kagaya, and at the age of 19, he defeated օTsutsuki Tonari alone. At the age of 32, he faced the coming օTsutsuki Gold style and օTsutsuki Peach style. Then օTsutsuki Ura style, and օTsutsuki Ichi style did not stop his miracle. But this kind of miracle is limited after all. In the battle with օTsutsuki, Ninetales assists him in heavy particle mode and dies, though barely defeating օTsutsuki. However, Kurama completely disappeared in the ninja world. Even with the particularity of the tailed beast, after using the heavy particle mode, there was no resurrection. He, who lost 9 tails, and Sasuke, who lost Rinnegan, had to take a back seat. And even if their strength goes through the follow-up penance, they can only reach the level of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara during their lifetime. If this level is invincible in the ninja world, just like first Hokage and Uchiha Madara back then, it can overwhelm the ninja world for an era. But when facing օTsutsuki, especially the օTsutsuki god of 10 pieces of օTsutsuki, it is not enough to watch. Without Rinnegan, without the power of օTsutsuki, even the former Super Shadow is not even an ant. The main force has become Boruto, who has completely inherited the power of օTsutsuki Momo, and Kawaki, who has completely inherited the power of օTsutsuki Aikishi. But they are only barely touchable, and there is still a huge gap between them and the legendary օTsutsuki god, օTsutsuki Yagara. Even if Boruto Yu Xuanmu assembled the power of the entire ninja world, he was defeated in the end. Boruto Yu Xuanmu was fed to the super big 10 tails, and everyone in the ninja world, including the 3 holy places, became the nourishment of the super big 10 tails sacred tree. And he was Xuanmu who barely saved a life with his young name Biguna. But that was only a few seconds longer. օTsutsuki Yara, who absorbed the energy of the entire ninja world, was finally about to take that step. And for օTsutsuki Yamei, who is about to escape, the ninja world is meaningless. Of course there is only destruction. The truth-seeking ball, which is huge enough to cover the entire planet in the sky, is the best display. Also, it's time to meet Hinata, Sasuke, Boruto, Kawaki, father, mother. Unfortunately, my strength is still too weak. If a soft voice spoke, and the huge truth-seeking ball fell, and then crimson filled the entire viewing angle. Whirlpool Naruto thought of his wife, Uchiha Sasuke, and his father and mother in his mind. Also think of the year. Back then, if he could get to know him a little better. It's okay that today's scene will not be like this. The special nature of the ninja world makes it not too difficult for the power of օTsutsuki to be born on this land. He originally had many opportunities to step into that level, but in the end because of this or that reason, he missed it after all. And if you can step into which level? Maybe it's all different now. Thoughts come to an end at this moment. Naruto, whose hair was already Madara white, fell silent. However, when the starry sky was completely shattered, time and space are also stirred up at this moment. The volatility of one stock is spreading. The dragon vein aura that was originally tainted on him directly spread out at this moment. Then, on Naruto's body, a strange turtle shone with light. That is the plow, the legendary treasure of Otsutsuki, but with the crossing of Sasuke and Otsutsuki Arashiki, the plow has long been broken. But at this moment, plow seemed to come alive. Detect users. Vortex Naruto. Identities are bound. Bind successfully. Finally, the sky's path icon activates. The huge chakra exploded suddenly. Then annihilated. And in this kind of eruption and annihilation, the entire time and space fluctuated violently. Accompanied by violent fluctuations in time and space. The surrounding space was shattered inch by inch. And on Naruto's body, an illusory figure escaped, and finally submerged directly into the illusory space. Interweaving of time and space. Souls from the last days gather in youth. This leap seems to be 40 years. 40 years ago. That year, the young ninja Uzumaki Naruto had already graduated, the wave mission was completed, and the Chunin exam was completed. That year, the young Naruto fought against the Valley of the End in order to recover his former best friend, but failed to bring back his lost best friend. That year. So many stories that year. There are too many memories of that year. That year belonged to the Whirlpool Naruto story. This is. In Konoha's hospital, a blond boy stared blankly at the ceiling, unable to recover his thoughts for a while. He didn't even care about the pain coming from all over his body. Because at this moment, whether it is the memory in his mind or the scene in front of him, it clearly tells him the environment he is in at the moment, so Naruto can't react at this moment. This familiar environment, this familiar everything, has been so long that his memory is a little fuzzy. Get up subconsciously. The figure slowly walked out of the hospital. And when the outside world came into view, Naruto's azure blue pupils couldn't help shrinking violently. First generation, second generation, third generation, Dad. Muttering to himself, looking at the huge Hokage rock, especially when looking at the Hokage rock that only has first generation, second generation, third generation, and Dad, Naruto's heart can no longer keep calm. At this moment, no matter how hard he dared to believe it, he seemed to have no choice but to be sure that he really seemed to have returned to 40 years ago. Back to that 40 years ago when he had just failed to recover Sasuke. This year, ՕTsutsuki has not yet come. This year is still the era of ninjas. This year, he was just a genin of Konoha. Konoha. The village. Tears rolled down his face unconsciously. At this moment he didn't even know whether he was crying or laughing. He should cry, because this is his fondest memory. He should laugh too, because at this moment he is back here, back to the beginning of all dreams. He still has a chance. There is still the possibility to change everything. As for changing the past and affecting the future, he might have noticed in the past, but he doesn't care at all now. As long as he could change that bleak future, he would be willing even to let him die. For him, the consequences of time and space changes will never appear in his mind. Crying and laughing on the face, and then turned into a full smile. Naruto walked out of the hospital completely, and started to walk on Konoha's main street. I am familiar with everything that happened 40 years ago, and I also try my best to breathe in everything that happened 40 years ago. There is no Otsutsuki. Without the sacred tree, the air in the ninja world made him feel sweeter than ever before. And this visit is 3 days. For 3 days Naruto did nothing. He didn't practice, didn't think about anything, just quietly looked at the Konoha 40 years ago, the ninja world 40 years ago. Until the dawn of the 4th day. It was only then that Naruto gradually calmed down the heart he traveled through. Started to formalize his problems. That's right, it's his problem. As I said before, 40 years ago, facing the bleak future, if Naruto does not change something, I am afraid that it is not Naruto. For him, 40 years ago, he did have the possibility to change everything. For Starry Sky, Ninja World is special. There are strange natural abilities and 3 incredible holy places here. For other living planets, the birth of a ՕTsutsuki is already inconceivable. But on the Earth, there are more ՕTsutsuki that can be born than imagined. From the previous life, there are 6 paths Obito, 6 paths Madara, and he and Sasuke, although they are not complete օTsutsuki, but they have indeed touched the power of օTsutsuki, especially when they are at their peak. They are even compared to some high-ranking օTsutsuki. The strength is not bad at all. And from the previous life, if you want to fight against օTsutsuki, you only have the power of օTsutsuki. He wants to change the future, so he first needs to acquire the power of օTsutsuki. Especially Rinnegan. Without Rinnegan, it would be meaningless in a future where օTsutsuki almost exclusively wields higher-order space-time abilities. I heard from my grandfather in my previous life that the power of Rinnegan seems to be the fusion of Ashura's power and Indra's power. Just like Madara, it is easy for Sasuke to open Rinnegan. It is possible to get Senju Hashirama's cells or my cells, but as the reincarnation of Ashura Chakra, I'm afraid I have to get Sasuke's eyes. Thoughts flowed. Naruto frowned thinking about his own improvement. At the age of 50, he has experienced many things beyond imagination. For this ninja world, many things are untouchable secrets, but not for Naruto. For example, when Rinnegan opened his eyes, Naruto knew it clearly. But knowing is useless. Compared to Sage Body, fairy eyes are not so obtained, except for gouging out Sasuke's eyes, which is obviously impossible. In this way, it will undoubtedly be very difficult for Rinnegan to obtain. But fortunately, it is only very big, not impossible. In memory, Uchiha Madara died later because of Kagaya's resurrection. If the plot develops the same way, Naruto can also advance to Rinnegan as long as he gets Uchiha Madara's eyes. It's just that the time required for that may be too long. It seems that I still have to come from my previous life and develop my immortal body to ultimate first. The voice of talking to himself spoke, and Naruto gave a wry smile. But in his thinking, his figure suddenly stopped. He looked forward in astonishment. A few familiar figures there caught his eyes. One of them was wearing a green windbreaker with the word, gambling, engraved on the back, and the other was wearing a red samurai uniform with a huge scroll on the back and the word, forehead protector, written on it. That familiar voice almost brought Naruto to tears. Even the body trembled involuntarily. However, the long-term Hokage position allowed Naruto to quickly stabilize his mind. Because at this moment, there are more important things for him. Look past Tsunade at Jiraiya. He looked at the other two. Two people, one was wearing a windbreaker, with half of his face covered. He was obviously not as handsome as a young man with some kidney deficiency, a middle-aged man with blonde hair and blue eyes, and had beards on his face, but only two. The familiar dress and the familiar scene made Naruto understand what was going on. It was precisely because he understood that at this moment he suppressed his emotions towards Jiraiya. Because of the appearance of these two people, his previous problems seemed to be resolved. And as he walked in, the sound of conversation in front of him also entered his ears. I'm 5th Hokage Tsunade. You two look unfamiliar. What are you doing here with Konoha? Tsunade's voice sounded, and his eyes were looking at the two people in front of him. As an existence who has experienced several ninja battles, although Tsunade cannot detect the chakra fluctuations on the middle-aged man, he can detect the chakra fluctuations on the blonde child. Having chakra undoubtedly represents a ninja. A strange ninja has come to Konoha, especially now that 3rd Hokage has just passed away and Uchiha Sasuke is a traitor again, so he has to be vigilant. Broker. Relying on some ninjutsu to wander around, although not as good as Jonin, I can basically live. A plain voice sounded, the middle-aged man spoke, and then a small fireball was thrown into the sky and exploded, turning into fireworks. Is it a show? It seems to be good. However, a lot of things have happened in our village recently. You are barely ninjas, and you still need to be monitored. I hope you don't mind. Tsunade's voice came again. What's the matter? The blonde boy spoke out of curiosity. A genin from our village has defected, so Konoha is still on alert. As Tsunade said, he seemed to feel something, and turned his head to see Naruto who was walking over. Looking at Naruto at this moment, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The words that were about to be spoken, also involuntarily stopped at this moment. Grandma Tsunade, there is no power left now, let me monitor them. Facing Tsunade's gaze, Naruto spoke with a smile, but there was an extremely complex emotion in the gaze of Jiraiya, which was a yearning that spanned time and space. If it weren't for Naruto's extremely strong heart, I'm afraid it will explode at this moment. Of course, everyone didn't feel this at the moment, only Jiraiya glanced at Naruto in surprise, but was quickly attracted by Naruto's words. Naruto's words were not loud, but seeing Naruto approaching, the blonde boy, more precisely the whirlpool Boruto almost shouted. Fortunately, he quickly covered his mouth. It just made a strange sound. What's wrong? Tsunade looked at the whirlpool Boruto suspiciously. It's nothing, Master Hokage, it's just that this ninja-sama looks very similar to my apprentice father. The middle-aged man, or adult Sasuke spoke with a calm voice. Yeah, Tsunade was still a little suspicious. However, seeing Boruto's very similar appearance to Naruto, I still put down some doubts in my heart. Naruto, you said you were in charge of monitoring them. Tsunade looked at Naruto again, frowned and spoke. Although for Tsunade Naruto's most important identity is the Whirlpool Naruto, not Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, it cannot be denied that Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is also Naruto's identity, and it is obviously inappropriate for Naruto to contact suspicious people like this. Tsunade, leave it to Naruto. He also needs to teach Naruto ninjutsu during this period of time. While Tsunade hesitated, Jiraiya spoke. That's it. That's it, I still have something to do, let's go first. Hearing Jiraiya's words, Tsunade nodded in confirmation. With Jiraiya joining, naturally there is no problem, and now the strongest Konoha is Jiraiya. Even if there is a problem between the two in front of him, Tsunade doesn't believe that the other party can do something under Jiraiya's nose. After speaking, Tsunade's figure left here immediately. Haha boy, I still have to collect materials, and I will leave these two boys to you. Watching Tsunade leave, Jiraiya's figure turned into white smoke after speaking, obviously it was just a shadow clone. Looking at the disappearing Jiraiya, Naruto shook his head with a smile, and there was an emotion in his expression that he didn't know. Let's go, you probably don't have any place to live here, go to my house. Naruto looked at adult Sasuke, and Boruto spoke. Okay. It's time to work. The adult Sasuke spoke first. It's okay, I live alone anyway. Naruto smiled and waved his hand. Then he led the two of them towards their home. It is different from the original trajectory. I don't know if Naruto's return caused the deflection. At this moment, everyone did not meet the little Sakura, and the adult Sasuke did not leave, but followed Naruto back to Naruto's home. Back home, Naruto made a bucket of instant noodles for the two of them. I'm gonna start now. With the voice opening, the three quickly completed the food elimination. After eliminating the food, the three of them undoubtedly felt a little embarrassed. And in this embarrassment, Naruto couldn't help looking at the adult Sasuke. There is something natural about Sasuke. Naruto spoke softly. Sasuke. His words were not loud, but at this moment, this figure made the adult Sasuke's body tremble, and his dark pupils couldn't help dilating. You. The adult Sasuke looked at Naruto with disbelief. Boom. Boruto couldn't sit still and even fell directly to the ground. His expression was equally stunned. I don't know what to say. I should have died in the destruction of ՕTsutsuki Naruto, but I don't know why when the consciousness returned, it was already in the era of 40 years ago. Facing the shock of the two, Naruto's leisurely words sounded. His words were not big, but at this moment, the grown-up Sasuke and Boruto's hearts were shaken violently. Naruto. Dad. Sasuke, and Boruto opened their mouths, but didn't know how to speak for a while. Sasuke. Naruto looked at the shocked adult Sasuke, and stretched out his right hand. The next moment, Sasuke hesitated for a moment, but still stretched out his fist. Chakra acts as a heart-to-heart communication. Memory sharing is the simplest and most common ability. When fist meets fist, a picture after another appeared in the mind of the adult Sasuke. Watching the scene after scene, adult Sasuke's heart goes from doubt, to shock, to silence. Even with his fists parted, adult Sasuke's heart still hasn't completely escaped from that horrible doomsday. Naruto, you. He opened his mouth, but the adult Sasuke still didn't know what sound to make. At this time, Naruto was extremely calm. Because this time the disclosure was originally intended by him. Regarding this crossing between Sasuke and Boruto, he had heard Sasuke talk about it in detail in his previous life, so he naturally knew what was going on. At that time, after Taoshi and Jinshi were killed, Arashi still stayed on the earth trying to collect all the tail beast's chakra. For this reason, he used Otsutsuki's treasure, plow, to travel back in time and space, trying to capture the 9 tails from the boy Naruto chakra. Finally Arashi was killed by Boruto and others. Naruto knew what was going on when he saw adult Sasuke and Boruto. And after clearing it up, he undoubtedly thought of a key point. A question he was still thinking about just now. That's Rinnegan. Indeed, as a fairy body, it is very difficult for him to awaken Rinnegan, unless the eyes of Sasuke and Uchiha Madara are gouged out. Sasuke's, this is impossible, even in the future, Naruto will not do it, and Uchiha Madara's eyes are still I don't know how long it will take. But at this moment he had a chance. Rinnegan can not only be awakened by himself, it is also possible to use someone else's. Just look at Nagato, Obito. Although ordinary people can't carry Rinnegan, even Nagato's bloodline carrying Rinnegan is almost drained. Don't forget, he is the reincarnation of Ashura Chakra. If others have problems, he must have no problems. As for other people's eyes, what could be better than Otsutsuki Ura style? In particular, it is different from the pair of Rinnegans in the ninja world. Although the Rinnegan level of Otsutsuki Arashi is not as good as Keigaya's 9 Guyu Rinnegan, it is also Lugoyu Rinnegan. In addition, there is also the wedge of Otsutsuki. Hokage played the tail beast Jinchuriki, and in the future he will play Otsutsuki Jinchuriki. Compared with the tail beast Jinchuriki, it is obviously more than one level higher, and the height it can reach is undoubtedly higher. He wants to gain the power of Otsutsuki, which is also the easiest and most direct way. In the original trajectory, Naruto and Sasuke saw the Sage of Six Paths when they were dying, and entered the Six Paths level one after another under the premise of the hexagram sent by the ancestor of the ninja world. That is, the level of power that touches Otsutsuki. But obviously, this Six Paths level is short-lived. Fighting against Six Paths Madara respectively, sealing Otsutsuki Keigaya, and after a devastating battle in the Valley of the End, the Six Paths chakra in each other's bodies was exhausted, and then fell out of the Six Paths realm. Although they are still very strong, even when they are adults, they can win even against some weak Six Paths, but facing the top Six Paths like Otsutsuki Aikishi, they can only take a break. If Nine Tails hadn't sacrificed himself in the end, that might have been the end. But even after that time, neither Naruto nor Sasuke will be able to step into such a battlefield in the future. And facing future enemies, especially the Otsutsuki god, is impossible without the Six Paths class. And now such a great opportunity, Naruto can't miss it. Just want to get it, you must get Sasuke's help. Although Otsutsuki Arashiki's strength is not strong, but that is also Otsutsuki. Now he is just a soul wearer, not the same year. It is almost impossible to defeat Otsutsuki Arashiki with his 12-year-old body and obtain Rinnegan. Gaze at adult Sasuke. Waiting quietly. At this time, the adult Sasuke was silent. Intense ups and downs. Naruto didn't say much, but the impact on adult Sasuke was unprecedented. Rebirth. It is not incomprehensible to an adult Sasuke who has mastered space-time ninjutsu. The key lies in the content of Naruto's words. Otsutsuki Yara. Could it be? Adult Sasuke muttered to himself. Suddenly he thought of a pattern on top of the Keigaya pattern seen in the Keigaya space. No, Keigaya's superior is Otsutsuki Aikishiki. Compared to ordinary Otsutsuki, Otsutsuki Aikishi has more terrifying strength. His strength is far superior to Otsutsuki Momoji. Maybe he is not as good as Keigaya back then, but he knows how to fight better than Keigaya. I have almost nothing to do with you in his hands. Fight back. As for Otsutsuki Yara, that is the legendary god of Otsutsuki. At the beginning of all Otsutsuki, it is only the last step away from detachment. It is an existence that we will not be able to understand in the future. Naruto and Sasuke have the same mind, so he naturally understood what Sasuke meant, and he couldn't help shaking his head with a wry smile. He really hoped that the last Otsutsuki would only be the Otsutsuki style. After all, although the Otsutsuki style is powerful, it still has the possibility of victory, and Otsutsuki Yagara does not exist at all. Listening to Naruto's words, adult Sasuke couldn't help being shocked again. He couldn't imagine the existence of Otsutsuki, who is stronger than Keigaya. And what level will the existence beyond the օTsutsuki style reach? That is probably just like what Naruto said, it is an existence that he can't even understand now. Thoughts flow. After a while as an adult, Sasuke finally stabilized his heart. Naruto, what do you want to do next? The adult Sasuke looked at Naruto, and his words seemed extremely serious. I have to get stronger before օTsutsuki strikes. And to become stronger, I have to step into that level without relying on my grandfather's strength. For this first step, I need to get օTsutsuki Ura-style Rinnegan. I hope Sasuke you can help me. Looking at the adult Sasuke, Naruto spoke every word. After finishing speaking, his heart couldn't help pounding. Father, how do you know? Just now Boruto was completely dumbfounded, but at this moment he finally came to his senses, and sounded out with a stunned voice. Boruto, don't forget, your father was reborn after us. The adult Sasuke said something speechless, and then looked at Naruto. I see. I'll help you, but now my chakra is pulled away by օTsutsuki, I'm afraid. Taking a deep breath, Sasuke nodded. Then he spoke with hesitation. At this moment, the adult Sasuke is not in a good state. When he went here, in order to protect Boruto, his chakra was transferred by օTsutsuki Arashiki. Although he still has chakra in his body, it will not take a day or two to recover to the peak. No problem. I should be able to solve your chakra problem for you these days. Listening to adult Sasuke's words, Naruto breathed a sigh of relief, and then spoke with a smile. Sasuke's chakra recovery is nothing to Naruto. Even in today's ninja world, he has several ways to recover. But don't worry about it, it will take some time for օTsutsuki Arashiki to come from the original emperor's trajectory. You can think about it slowly. Okay. So be it. Sasuke nodded. Directly agreed. It's just that the thoughts are still a little silent in Naruto's words. օTsutsuki one type. He didn't expect that after defeating օTsutsuki Momoshiki and օTsutsuki Jinshi, there would be a new existence of օTsutsuki besides օTsutsuki Arashiki. And from Naruto's description, the strength of օTsutsuki's style is even more terrifying. You must know that even facing the transformed օTsutsuki Momoshiki, he and Naruto have a 60-70% chance of winning. But facing օTsutsuki, they were defeated. This suddenly made adult Sasuke feel uneasy. Even facing օTsutsuki Arashiki before, the adult Sasuke did not fluctuate much. Although օTsutsuki Arashiki's ability is weird, the adult Sasuke is sure to defeat the opponent. But in Naruto's description, the օTsutsuki style is obviously different. With such an existence, his heart is naturally difficult to settle down. Of course, compared to his restlessness, Naruto was completely relaxed. He confessed that it was naturally for the help of adult Sasuke. Otherwise, on his own alone, there is no way for him to seek the օTsutsuki Ura-style Rinnegan. As said before, օTsutsuki is another dish, that is also օTsutsuki. Now that his seal has not been lifted, it is basically impossible to use Kurama mode, at most it is only Golden Body mode. It is almost impossible to beat օTsutsuki Arashiki in Golden Statue mode. But having Sasuke is not a big problem. As long as Sasuke chakra recovers, although Sasuke with Rinnegan has not reached the 6 paths level, he is still at the peak of Super Shadow. The problem is still not big. Okay, Sasuke, Boruto. You should be tired today, so take a good rest. Naruto smiled. Then they arranged to sleep. Boruto bed, Sasuke can only sleep on the sofa naturally. And when several people fell asleep, a frog jumped over. A bathhouse in Konoha is located. Jiraiya staggered and almost fell directly into the women's bathhouse. But at this moment, he didn't have the heart to care about these things anymore, his eyes widened with disbelief. Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke. Vortex Boruto. I seem to have heard something extraordinary. Jiraiya muttered to himself, his heart was extremely shocked at this moment. As Jinchuriki and his apprentice, Jiraiya naturally cannot let other people directly contact with Naruto. But there is only 1,000 days to be a thief but not 1,000 days to prevent a thief. Jiraiya originally planned to hang out some mice to solve it. But he didn't expect that such a big news would be given to him at the beginning. He could hear the conversation between Naruto and the adult Sasuke clearly, but it was precisely because he could hear clearly that Jiraiya's heart was shaken violently at this moment. A Naruto who was reborn from the future, and a Sasuke who never crossed over. Not to mention what happened between the mouths of Naruto and adult Sasuke. Just hearing the clip, Jiraiya felt her scalp go numb. No, you have to talk to Tsunade about it. Seemingly thinking of something, Jiraiya rushed to Hokage's office in a hurry. In the room at this time, Naruto and adult Sasuke don't know any of this. Although the adult Sasuke is very strong, he doesn't have the powerful perception ability of the adult Naruto, especially when he is actually at a serious deficit in chakra, he can't feel it even more. As for the current Naruto, he naturally can't feel it either. Although he awakened Kagura Mind Eye in the previous life, that was the previous life, not the present. As for Sage Mode, he also didn't turn it on, so naturally he couldn't detect it. Of course, although he can't feel it, Naruto actually knows that Jiraiya is probably around. His words were not only for adult Sasuke, but also for Konoha. Coming back from rebirth, there will definitely be many problems in what he will do next. If there is no reasonable explanation, problems will easily arise. Now this explanation is naturally the best. As for whether there will be any problems in the public, Naruto is not worried. Today's Konoha is an existence he trusts, whether it is Grandma Tsunade or Jiraiya. More importantly, his strength at this moment, even if the seal has not been lifted, and his body has returned to the age of 12, but the strength he can display at this moment is still terrifying. Sage Mode, plus Kurama Chakra Mode, is enough to make him a rarity in the ninja world today. Adversary. The other side. Jiraiya appeared in Hokage's office after a few moments. The night was getting dark now. However, as the purpose of the fifth generation, Tsunade has not fallen asleep yet. Hokage is not such a simple job. The pile of official documents is enough to make people feel their scalps tingling. And Tsunade's whole person is buried in the document. Jiraiya, didn't you ask you to monitor those two brats, why did you come here? Tsunade didn't even look up, and spoke sullenly. Tsunade, things seem to be going awry. Jiraiya spoke. As he spoke, Tsunade's head was lifted from the document. How? What's wrong with those two brats? Tsunade opened his mouth in doubt, and a ruthless light flashed across his eyes. No. As such that. Jiraiya shook her head, then pondered for a while, and slowly told everything she had just heard. And listening to Jiraiya's narration, Tsunade's pupils couldn't help but gradually widen, and there was a look of shock in his eyes. You mean Naruto came back from the future? Those two young men also come back from the future, one is Sasuke and the other is Naruto's son. Tsunade's words were unbelievable, and he looked at Jiraiya blankly. Right. And I'm afraid it's true. Tsunade, haven't you noticed that the child has the obvious aura of the Uzumaki clan, although it is very weak, but it is indeed the aura of the Uzumaki clan, and the kid also has blonde hair, blue pupils, and Naruto on his face same beard. Jiraiya nodded solemnly, and spoke in a deep voice. As for his words, Tsunade couldn't help being silent. It's okay not to associate some things, but once you associate them, you will be able to discover the problems. Not to mention adult Sasuke, that child is indeed very much like Naruto. In particular, it still has the breath of the Whirlpool clan, which is almost certain. It's just such a result that Tsunade really didn't know how to react. Tsunade, the problem now is probably not these, but those օTsutsuki that Naruto said. Among Naruto's words, those օTsutsuki seem to be at the level of Sage of Six Paths. How should we deal with it? Jiraiya smiled wryly, with a look of helplessness in his expression. To be honest, if he hadn't heard these words with his own ears, Jiraiya would have chosen to spit at him directly. Isn't Sage of Six Paths a myth? How could it be true? Another group. But when he heard it with his own ears, and all the expressions, Jiraiya had to believe it. And after believing, it is worrying. Jiraiya, it's not completely confirmed yet. Look again. After a moment of silence, Tsunade managed to calm down his heart, and spoke in a deep voice. Even if the information he received at this moment was shocking enough. But as Hokage, Tsunade's character still made him gradually stabilized. This. Jiraiya opened her mouth. Well, Jiraiya, you monitor for a few more days and include Naruto. Let's make sure again. Before Jiraiya could continue speaking, Tsunade's deep voice sounded. A decision was made quickly. Even if this moment is basically certain. But Tsunade still wanted to make sure. Only in this way can he decide what to do next. Understood. Seeing Tsunade's serious gaze, Jiraiya took a deep breath and nodded. Soon Jiraiya disappeared. Only 5th generation Tsunade remained in the office. It's just that at this moment, Tsunade no longer has the mind to deal with the mountains of official documents in front of him. For him, the news that Jiraiya just brought back is the most important. And that's the biggest thing. In contrast, these official documents in front of me are not worth mentioning. Naruto. Sasuke. It really gave me a big problem. Tsunade muttered to herself, and looked at Hokage Rock involuntarily. At this moment, she couldn't calm down at all. There is no way such a thing may be more incredible than anything else, and it is also more important. And it was during the conversation between Jiraiya and Tsunade. Naruto's home. At this moment, Naruto slowly fell into sleep after his worries were initially resolved. Tick-tock. In a daze, there was a faint sound of running water. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, and when his eyes converged, he realized that he had come to this dark sewer at some point. There is still an attraction between the X-Fang Yin appointments. This is. Naruto was a little dazed when he spoke in a soft voice, but soon regained consciousness. He immediately understood the environment he was in. The footsteps no longer hesitated, and slowly walked forward. Soon, a huge iron door appeared before his eyes. And when his figure came here, an incomparably violent chakra swept out instantly, and the entire iron gate was rattled violently. Roar. Little devil, come here. Let this uncle eat you. Roar. 4th generation. The roaring sound was mixed with this tyrannical and gigantic chakra raging. Inside the iron gate, a huge and incomparably black shadow loomed, revealing a bloodshot pupil with an incomparably hateful gaze. Looking at this familiar scene. Kurama, long time no see. A soft voice spoke, it was Naruto's words. This sound carried endless emotion and endless feelings. It was the deepest emotion buried in my heart for the loss of Kurama. God knows how he got through those days without Kurama. Finally, he saw Kurama again. This one accompanies him. In the end, the partner who died to save him. Roar. Little devil, come here. Wait, kid, what are you calling my uncle? And what's that expression on your face? Brat. Ninetales roared subconsciously, but quickly realized, his pupils widened, and his expression fluctuated violently for the first time. Kurama, that's the name given to him by the Sage of Six Paths. Synonymous with hating the scourge, Ninetales never told anyone that name. What did he hear at this moment? The kid in front of him actually called out his name. All of a sudden it calmed down. Coupled with that expression, Ninetales suddenly felt a little uncomfortable all over. Then this uneasiness turned into ferocity due to restlessness. Kurama, it's okay. You can hardly believe it. I came from the future. In the future, we have become best partners. Naruto spoke softly, his eyes were on Ninetales quietly. Hey kid, what are you kidding? What nonsense are you talking about? Roar. Ninetales roared, and the next moment the huge tail flicked and hit the iron door directly. At this moment, Ninetales looked extremely irritable. Kurama, this is the name given to you by the Sage of Six Paths. Back then, Sage of Six Paths ՕTsutsuki Yuya defeated his mother ՕTsutsuki Kagaya, sealed the body of 10 tails, and divided the chakra of 10 tails into 9 different existences, 1 tail Shuzuru, 2 tails Matabi, 3 tails Isumo, 4 tails Sun Wukong, 5 tails Kokuo, 6 tails Seiken, 7 tails Chome, 8 tails Gyuki, and 9 tails Kurama. Am I right? Without waiting for Ninetales' irritability to continue to be discovered, Naruto's soft words sounded again. And this time, Ninetales undoubtedly shook again. How do you know? Impossible, you can't know this. Hey, who are you? Ninetales roared, the iron gate shook again, and the sweeping chakra seemed to go berserk again. If the term Kurama made him unable to calm down, then the words in front of him made Kurama's thinking a little bit down. For Naruto, Ninetales can be said to have grown up watching. But in the cognition of Ninetales, it is impossible for Naruto to know this. In today's ninja world, Sage of Six Paths is already a legend, and no one even knows about 10 tails, let alone օTsutsuki Naruto, the mother of Sage of Six Paths. It was something that even Nine Tails hadn't seen, and the old man had only heard a few words about its existence. Not to mention Naruto, even Konoha's Hokage couldn't possibly know this. But at this moment, Naruto said it easily, how could this not make Nine Tails' head go down? As for Naruto's words, he obviously ignored them directly. Kurama, want to know everything about the future. Seeing Nine Tails' reaction, Naruto couldn't help showing a smile on his face, and at the same time stretched out his right fist at this moment, and put it directly in front of the iron gate. And looking at Naruto's fist, Nine Tails couldn't help but fell silent. He instinctively wanted to slap him. But at this moment, Naruto's words hit his heart again and again, making him unable to calm down. And in the shock, Nine Tails suddenly saw Naruto's blue pupils. Immediately the long memory returned. However, it was soon overwhelmed by Nine Tails. Little devil, if you lie to me, I will swallow you. Nine Tails roared, and in the midst of the roar, he still stretched out his palm. No matter how much he believed it, Naruto's words forced him to believe it. In particular, Naruto actually called out his name, and recalling what the old man said to him, he still made a choice. Bump. Fist collides with fist. Chakras link. Let the pictures appear in the pupils of Nine Tails at this moment. And this time, Nine Tails' pupils couldn't help but widen. It was a picture. Chakra is originally a tool created by Sage of Six Paths to connect people. It can also allow two people to communicate thoroughly in their hearts. When the screen appears, that is the memory that belongs to Naruto the Whirlpool. After the Chunin exam, scenes unfolded. The whole idea of Nine Tails was completely involved. One Tails battle to defend the crane. The emergence of Shao organization. Pen invades. Vortex Nagato. The Fourth Ninja War. Uchiha Obito. Uchiha Madara. օTsutsuki Naruto. օTsutsuki Gold Style. օTsutsuki Peach Style. օTsutsuki Ura Style. օTsutsuki One Style. And finally օTsutsuki Yara, and the completely broken ninja world. Scenes appeared one after another, and Nine Tails changed from being skeptical to being deeply moved. Even his thoughts followed Naruto involuntarily. He will be excited because Naruto defeated the enemy. Will be nervous because Naruto is in danger. Outside the Iron Gate, the originally tyrannical chakra gradually calmed down. Time also slowly passed by every minute and every second. I don't know how long it has been. When Nine Tails' consciousness completely came back to his senses. He has finished watching the last Doomsday scene. Heavy particle mode. I didn't expect that my uncle would do this for a human being. You. Nine Tails spoke softly, and the tyrannical chakra around him had already calmed down at this moment, but at this moment it was hard to calm down in his heart. Although the final impact was great for him, it was not as great as the ups and downs in his fight with օTsutsuki. He never thought that he, who has always hated human beings, would finally recognize a human being, and even be willing to come back to life for this human being. Such a result, if before that, someone told Kurama that he felt that he swallowed the other party in one bite. But at this moment, he, who had seen decades of time, was silent. Seeing what happened to Naruto, it doesn't seem so incredible anymore. The blue-eyed boy laughed and called out the names of the 9 beasts. I didn't expect the old man was talking about you. Nine Tails immediately sighed again. For the tailed beast, such legends have been circulating all the time, and he never thought that there would be a day when it would come true. But at this moment, the result was found. Amidst the emotion, Kurama's expression immediately became solemn. Naruto, what are you going to do next? From what you remember, those օTsutsuki are not so easy to deal with. Especially for the last օTsutsuki Yara. Judging from the subsequent battles, your son and your apprentice are probably not inferior to the old man in strength, but they still lost. You. He opened his mouth and looked at Naruto. As a tail beast, although he was touched at this moment, Nine Tails quickly grasped the key point. Right. Those օTsutsuki are extremely powerful. Especially օTsutsuki Naruto, and օTsutsuki's style, are not something we can deal with. Sasuke and I were able to seal օTsutsuki Naruto. In fact, it is a big luck. We may not have this luck this time. Not to mention օTsutsuki. And the last օTsutsuki god, օTsutsuki Yara. Naruto nodded with a wry smile. He wasn't joking. In the Fourth Ninja World War, the battle with ՕTsutsuki Naruto was indeed a great luck. Everything about ՕTsutsuki surpassed him and Sasuke. At this point, both of them almost died. Even if the plot is repeated, it may not necessarily be successful. As for ՕTsutsuki, Naruto feels that even if he and Sasuke are at their peak, they may not be able to win. Naruto, do you have an idea? Do you need my help? Ninetales nodded. As a tailed beast, he is more aware of the horror of these ՕTsutsuki. At this moment, his disposition has completely turned around. Since he chooses to believe in Naruto in the future, and Naruto is worthy of his trust, then he can naturally do the same now. Yes, Kurama. I already have some ideas, and I really need your help. Naruto opened his mouth, and then slowly narrated his previous thoughts. For Ninetales, Naruto has nothing to hide, Kurama is his friend. And listening to Naruto's narration, Ninetales couldn't help but feel some ups and downs again. Naruto, you mean that there is a ՕTsutsuki who also came back from the future, and you want to take the power of that ՕTsutsuki? Ninetales sounded with a slightly stunned voice. He didn't expect that besides Naruto, there would be other people from the future coming. Not only is there a Uchiha imp, but there is also a ՕTsutsuki. This suddenly made Ninetales a little nervous. ՕTsutsuki. From Naruto's memory, Ninetales could understand the horrors of these ՕTsutsuki. Now that a ՕTsutsuki has come to Ninja World, it has to make him nervous. Yes, only ՕTsutsuki can fight against ՕTsutsuki. This ՕTsutsuki is not very strong, and with the help of Sasuke in the future, killing this one is not a big problem. The ՕTsutsuki family has something called wedge, which can copy itself and digitize itself, and then penetrate into other people's bodies to make other creatures complete ՕTsutsuki. I don't know if there is a ՕTsutsuki Ura style, or not. After all, he seems to be just a branch house, but even if there is no wedge, if I can obtain his Rinnegan, it will be enough to complete part of my ՕTsutsuki transformation, which will allow me to have the ability to face future crises. Naruto nodded, then spoke seriously. And this is his plan. In the face of future enemies, this is the best way for him to improve himself. Needless to say, as the most critical thing in the future, once obtained, Naruto is enough to get a complete leap. As for the threat of ՕTsutsuki Arashi, what a joke, with Naruto's growth, it won't take long for ՕTsutsuki Arashi to be completely obliterated by him, so there is no need to worry at all. The only problem is that ՕTsutsuki Ura style may not have a wedge. After all, in the original book, ՕTsutsuki Ura style did not leave a wedge, and neither did ՕTsutsuki Jin style and ՕTsutsuki Kagaya. Naruto guessed that there may be only ՕTsutsuki main, that is, the guardian, has the ability to engrave wedges. But regardless of ՕTsutsuki Arashiki, Naruto only needs to get Rinnegan. This is the most guaranteed gain. I see. If it's not that strong, it's okay. And listen to you, that kid from Uchiha also came over, we should still be able to. Listening to Naruto's words, Ninetales couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief, and then nodded. He was really afraid of the coming ՕTsutsuki in front of him, just as scary. Then he and Naruto will have a hard time. By the way, Kurama, that ՕTsutsuki's ability is very special. It can extract other people's chakra, which is different from Rinnegan's extraction. In order to avoid accidents, I can only wrong you for the time being and don't unlock the seal. I will wait until after this incident. Untie. As if thinking of something, Naruto spoke again. Unlocking the seal, although it can make him stronger, will undoubtedly cause greater risks. An adult Sasuke could be pulled out of chakra, as he is now. No one can guarantee it, it is better to have a higher level of insurance. Although Sasuke once described the strength of ՕTsutsuki Arashiki, but after all, he never faced it in person, and Naruto had to be careful. And now it's a bit troublesome to untie the seal. Although it is just an iron door now, it seems that tearing off that seal is enough. But in fact, this seal is extremely troublesome. This is the 8-sign seal my father used, 2 4-sign seals. To unlock it, it's not just the seal, but also a key, and he doesn't have a key now. Unless you ask for it from Pervy Sage. But it takes a long time to go back and forth this time. It will be too late then. Might as well keep it. After waiting for this matter to be resolved. Of course, Ninetales at the moment doesn't know what Naruto is thinking. He also has no opinion on Naruto's arrangement. Having personally withstood the weight of the 720 episodes, his whole thinking has undergone a complete change. And he accepted Naruto without knowing it. Naruto, it's okay. My uncle knows. Just let go and do it. By the way, this is for you, your current chakra is too weak. Ninetales laughed loudly, and the next moment a majestic chakra gushed out directly from the sealed gate. All of a sudden, Naruto's figure was wrapped in it. And with the influx of this chakra, Naruto's figure also changed rapidly. Surrounded by golden chakra, the hair is upturned to form two horns, and the neckline shows 6 tomo. A strong feeling began to permeate his whole body. And the outside world. Adult Sasuke was almost immediately aware of it. He opened his eyes, which were originally closed. This is presented by 3 tomo Sharingan. But soon, adult Sasuke couldn't help showing a smile on his face. He glanced out the window. Then he closed his eyes again. Outside world. A figure appeared. Ninetales. Not good. Jiraiya was startled instinctively, subconsciously wanting to rush out. However, it was soon discovered that something was wrong. In the room, although the chakra that appeared seemed to belong to Ninetales, it was not as tyrannical as imagined. On the contrary, it is extremely soft. Subconsciously looked at the window sill, where the wooden existence even began to sprout. This is master the power of the Ninetales. Mumbling to himself, Jiraiya's expression was full of shock. For him, this scene is not unfamiliar. It was shown by Uzumaki Kushina in the past. This is the scene of total control, stripping Ninetales of their power. He never thought that he could see it again in the current Naruto. In my mind, I couldn't help but hear Naruto's words before. His figure also stopped in place. The movement of the outside world at this moment. Naruto doesn't know. He feels the change in himself. There was also a smile on his face. Thank you, Kurama. Mumbling to himself, subconsciously clenched his fists. At this moment, Naruto could clearly feel that his whole body was filled with endless power. Kurama's chakra completely envelops him. This moment. Even with just relying on this power, he has the strength to single-handedly fight, and even defeat Ying. This is no joke. In his previous life, under the guidance of Killer Bee, he finally defeated Kurama with his mother Uzumaki Kushina in the spiritual space, depriving the mode opened by Kurama chakra. When Ninetales chakra mode was turned on, he used the power of Ninetales to increase his movement speed, and even avoided the full blow of the 4th Raikage in this way. In the hand of Ninetales chakra, its strength can steadily enter the cage level. Now that she is reborn, the strength that Kurama chakra mode can display is undoubtedly stronger than in her previous life. Now in the entire ninja world, even in this mode alone, there are not many people who can defeat him. This is the chakra mode you mentioned, but the seal has not been released yet, and the duration you can last should only be about 3 minutes, use it well. Thoughts flowed, Kurama's voice came slowly. And his words undoubtedly confirmed Naruto's thoughts. 3 minutes. Enough. Naruto smiled brightly. Go, Naruto. Don't be too embarrassing. Teach me a lesson, those guys. Let me see the years when I disappeared, have you regressed? Kurama also smiled. Thanks, Kurama. Naruto nodded, and then his figure slowly faded away. Naruto. Ninetales muttered to himself, watching Naruto disappear completely. Outside world. On the bed. Naruto gradually fell into a deep sleep. The night also passed. It's just that for this night, some people are destined to have no sleep. Like Jiraiya. Naruto's just broken chakra made Jiraiya still doubt her life. Naruto's previous words impacted his thinking again and again. The night sky gradually passed. In the morning, when the morning sun shines. A new day has arrived without knowing it. In the room. Naruto stretched. At this moment, he felt comfortable all over himself. Not only because this sleep was extremely comfortable, but also because chakra from Ninetales no longer interfered with him. All his own chakras have returned, and at the same time, the chakras of Ninetales are still nourishing his body, giving his body unprecedented vitality. Ashura's chakra began to be gradually activated. Chakra also started to grow rapidly. However, it may take a certain amount of time to fully develop. In the early morning, Konoha's number 20 training ground. Naruto, Boruto, adult Sasuke came to this training ground at this moment after eating early in the morning. At this time, the figures of the three stood tall. Father, you are no match for me now. Sasuke uncle said that when I was young, my father was the tail of the crane. Even if you come back from the future, father, there shouldn't be so many chakras. Boruto spoke confidently. After breakfast early in the morning, Boruto asked to spar with Naruto. In this regard, Naruto naturally did not refuse. So the three of them came to this training ground. Yeah, not always. Naruto smiled. At this moment he also needs to adapt to the smaller body. Father, be careful. Boruto opened his mouth, and the next moment he made a mudra with his hands. Bang bang bang. As the white smoke rose, 4 identical Borutos appeared directly in the field. Is there still only 4? Boruto was a little disappointed. But there was no hesitation in the action, and 2 of Boruto directly double-teamed Naruto from the left and right. Shadow clone, this amount is not enough. Naruto chuckled, raised his right hand lightly, instantly blocked a Boruto coming from the left, and then stepped out with his left foot, kicking directly at the shadow clone coming from the right. The power exploded, and the shadow clone was directly shattered in one blow. And Naruto kept moving, squatting down, dodging another kick from Boruto on the left, and went up with his right foot. Bump. This shadow clone is equally broken. Although the joke has become smaller, he is not amnesia anymore. The only problem is the coordination of body and soul, but even if there is another problem, his combat experience and wisdom will not disappear. Especially fighting wisdom, his fighting wisdom is an extremely powerful existence in the ninja world. It can even be said that today's Naruto, even if he only takes out Genin's chakra, can abuse food in the face of Jonin. Of course, the Whirlpool Boruto is not bad either. He has gone through the Chunin exam and the invasion of the օTsutsuki clan, and his combat ability has also been improved rapidly. During the shadow clone feint, the stroke attribute chakra flowed in his hand. The handprint was also completed quickly at this moment. Wind-style gale palm. The words opened, and Boruto's body was ejected suddenly. In midair, his handprints also did not end. Lightning-style thunder arrow. The lightning-style chakra was gathered on the palm of the right hand, and when it quickly approached Naruto, it was suddenly released. Arrow-like white lightning strikes Naruto. Naruto turned slightly sideways. And in this sideways movement, Boruto's kick also attacked. Good. However, the feint is too obvious. Naruto smiled lightly. The right hand directly pressed Boruto's leg, and at the same time kicked it mercilessly. Bump. Boruto's figure flew out faster than when he came. The 2 Boruto who were approaching rapidly behind were directly bumped into. Bump. With 2 soft bangs, Boruto's 2 shadow clones shattered and turned into white smoke. In the distance, Boruto slowly became afraid while screaming in pain. Father, how can you be so strong? Obviously we are about the same age. Boruto grimaced, looking a little frustrated. He originally thought that since his father was getting smaller and without Kurama uncle, he should have a chance of winning. But he didn't expect that he would be defeated in just one face-to-face meeting. Boruto, your father, at your age, you can easily create hundreds, even thousands of shadow clone. Listening to Boruto's words, before Naruto could speak, Sasuke could not help but speak first. What, thousands? Boruto almost jumped up. He looked at his father in shock. Ha ha ha, not that much. If there is no Kurama at this time, there will only be a few hundred, and thousands of them are still difficult for me now. Naruto said with a smile. It's just that his words immediately made Boruto even more frustrated. Now he can only separate out 4 shadow clone. He couldn't imagine how his father was able to separate so many shadow clone. Alright. Let's continue. As my son of Naruto, your strength is not enough. Looking at the dejected Boruto, Naruto straightened his expression, and then spoke seriously. Come again. No, father. Boruto spoke quickly. But obviously, Naruto didn't pay attention at all. The future crisis is unimaginable. Boruto has been planted with a wedge, and he must have enough strength to survive. Bang bang bang. No. Father. Dad. Mother. In the training ground, there were shrill voices. Don't know how long it lasted. When the morning sun gradually moved towards the night, the screams stopped, but the Boruto at this moment was just as miserable as it was. His face was bruised and purple, and his whole body was in tatters. In order to get acquainted with my own body and cultivate Boruto. Although Naruto didn't use all his strength, he didn't show any mercy. All of a sudden, Boruto is undoubtedly miserable. Fortunately, such a result is undoubtedly perfect. Naruto has basically mastered his own body. Although the soul and body are still a little out of harmony, they are already much better. As for Boruto, after his special training, his combat experience has also been greatly improved. Some combat issues have also been addressed nicely. Although the strength has not improved much, the combat quality has been improved a lot. It can be said that there has been a lot of changes. Night gradually fell. In the jungle, the vortex Boruto was crying. On the other side, the adult Sasuke is smiling faintly. But he didn't say anything. When the battle between the two is over, Naruto's figure walked over immediately. The two sat down. Looking at the adult Sasuke, Naruto pondered for a moment, and after sorting out the thoughts in his mind, he opened his mouth. Sasuke, your chakra should have been completely withdrawn. It may be very difficult to recover at your level. Now there are probably only two ways. Echoing some knowledge in his mind, Naruto spoke slowly. In my memory, the adult Sasuke was taken away from chakra in order to protect Boruto, which led to an extremely embarrassing situation in the subsequent series of battles. Sasuke told him all these back then. The most fundamental reason for this is that Sasuke's chakra is difficult to recover in a short time. After all, this is not an ordinary ninja. An adult Sasuke is definitely the pinnacle of the ninja world. With this kind of existence, chakra is drained, and it is basically impossible to recover in a short time. Fortunately, Naruto still knows a few ways. Any solution. The adult Sasuke was stunned for a moment, and then his expression turned serious. One is that we immediately revive 10 tails, the material of 10 tails. You have Rinnegan, summoning Geto statue is not a problem, and the chakra of 9 tails does not necessarily need 9-tail beasts. You can use chakra, just 10 tails. Your strength is limited, but it's not a big problem to just restore your strength. Naruto opened his mouth slowly, but what he said made Sasuke jump. I'm afraid it won't work. Although the current world should not be the world before us, it doesn't matter if we intervene, but we don't have the time. Otsutsuki Arashiki will arrive in no more than 3 days at most, and we can't finish it in 3 days. Quote. After a moment of silence, adult Sasuke shook his head and directly denied it. There was only a second option for so long. Transplant Shodai's cells, or transplant my cells, and you should be able to stimulate the power of 6 paths again. It will not be a problem to recover by then, but you're right, I may. Hearing the grown-up Sasuke shake his head, Naruto was not too surprised. After all, the first one was basically unfeasible even in his opinion. On the one hand, there is not enough time, and on the other hand, the strength is not enough. Today's Sasuke is not at his peak, and it is completely overthinking to face Akatsuki in this state. His initial thought was the second option. Transplant his cells, or first-generation cells. Both he and Senju Hashirama are reincarnations of Ashura Chakra, and Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Sasuke are reincarnations of Indra Chakra. Uchiha Madara transplanted Senju Hashirama's cells to open Rinnegan, and Sasuke also transplanted Senju Hashirama's cells to open Rinnegan. Nowadays, Senju Hashirama's cells are hard to come by. After all, the world seems to be full of first-generation cells, but there are only a few people who really master first-generation cells. Uchiha Obito, Danzo, Orochimaru. Just these few. It is not so easy to get it from these few, especially when the time is extremely urgent, it is even more so. It's just that Senju Hashirama's cells are difficult to obtain, and his Vortex Ed Naruto's cells are still very simple. As the reincarnation of Indra Chakra, Uchiha Sasuke can stimulate the power of 6 paths as long as he transplants his cells, and it is naturally much easier to recover with the power of 6 paths. It's just that such a choice will inevitably make Uchiha Sasuke's other eye also evolve into Rinnegan. In the past, I don't know whether Sasuke couldn't give up Uchiha Itachi's Sharingan, or it was simply because Ashura Chakra had been reincarnated, and the power of Ashura contained in Senju Hashirama cells was limited, so Sasuke only awakened one Rinnegan. But now whether Sasuke wants to keep it or not, once Uchiha Sasuke transplants his cells, a new Rinnegan will inevitably be opened. Especially for Uchiha Sasuke, who once channeled the power of 6 paths, it doesn't even need to go through as long as Madara. It only takes a short time to complete. It's just that such a result, Uchiha Sasuke may not necessarily accept it. This is especially true for adult Sasuke these days. That eye was the last fantasy left to him by Uchiha Itachi. This can be seen in the adult Sasuke's silence after Naruto finished speaking. Sasuke uncle. Boruto spoke, and looked at the adult Sasuke with some concern. Naruto, give me a day. A day later, I will give you an answer. After a moment of silence, the adult Sasuke looked at Naruto again, speaking softly. But Sasuke, you know our time is running out. Hurry up and go. Naruto's heart skipped a beat, and he nodded. At this moment, he naturally understands what Sasuke is going to do, and he has no intention of intervening in this regard. The world is different now. In today's world, even if adult Sasuke wanted to change something, he would not stop it. After all, compared to that future, nothing else is worth mentioning. As for changing the past, once he has taken Rinnegan, the past will inevitably change, and naturally he doesn't care about the rest. Thank you. The adult Sasuke nodded, and then he disappeared in place in a flash. Sasuke uncle. Where are you going? Boruto spoke in an anxious voice. Let's go. You Sasuke uncle, you have important things to do, your kid is too weak, you have to continue training tomorrow. I need to practice more. Father, Dad, don't do this. Sasuke uncle. While Boruto screamed, Naruto pulled Boruto away from here. The border between the Kingdom of Fire and the Kingdom of Wind. Here is a sea of trees that extends almost to the end, and at the end of the sea of trees is the sweeping yellow sand. This strange landform just exists. According to legend, this is the trace left by Senju Hashirama when he used wood style. It's just that time has passed, and no one believes in this legend anymore. At this moment, the two figures are flying by quickly. The words of the two figures in the forest also came out slowly. Oh, Mr. Itachi, that brother of yours seems to have defected from the village. By the way, it seems to be looking for that traitor. Tisk tisk, that guy is not a good person, your brother will be in trouble next time. Our mission this time is to investigate the strength of the Kingdom of Wind. Remember not to expose. The sound is mixed. But it didn't take long for the conversation to continue. The sudden two figures stopped immediately. It was only at this time that they could clearly see the appearance of the two figures. Both are wearing red cloud robes with a black background. One of them has long dark blue hair, a shark-like face. There are also shark gills on both shoulders, skin color, sharp teeth, and golden pupils. The South character ring representing Nando is worn on the ring finger of the left hand. One person has long black hair and black pupils, long eyelashes on the upper and lower corners of the eyes, exquisite facial features, and a handsome face with a cold color that can never be melted away. What's the matter, Mr. Itachi? Kisame asked with a curious voice. Originally they were heading towards the Land of Winds, but they didn't expect that Uchiha Itachi just stopped. This made Kisame subconsciously think that there was an enemy coming. But he didn't feel anything when he stopped, which made him a little curious. Come out. Facing Kisame's words, Uchiha Itachi didn't speak, looked forward, and spoke in a calm voice. Someone. Hearing Uchiha Itachi's words, Kisame was startled, subconsciously held Samahata behind her with his right hand, and the vigilance in his heart was raised to the highest. Because even now, he still doesn't feel any trace. And the moment he held Samahata, a figure slowly came out from behind the tree in front of him. You're still so perceptive. Speaking with a complicated voice, the adult Sasuke stared blankly at this face that he was very familiar with, and that he once missed very much. Oh, I didn't even notice my clever hidden ninjutsu. However, boy, are you too arrogant. Kisame opened his mouth with a sneer, and the moment his words fell, his figure had already disappeared. When the last syllable appeared, his figure had already appeared in front of the adult Sasuke. Kisame. At this moment Uchiha Itachi's voice came out. But it's too late. The next moment Kisame had a scarlet eye reflected in his pupil. Sharingan. Uchiha. This was the last thought in Kisami's mind, and the next moment his figure fell down directly. Bump. The heavy figure fell down. Samahata, who had just been pulled out, couldn't help falling to the side, and was still retreating instinctively. But the adult Sasuke at this moment doesn't care about these things at all. His gaze was still staring blankly at Uchiha Itachi. Sharingan. Mangekyo. Uchiha Itachi frowned and looked at the person in front of him. The existence of a Uchiha or Mangekyo should have made him extremely vigilant. After all, the one behind the Akatsuki organization is also Mangekyo. But an instinctive sense of familiarity made him feel extremely cordial, but the person in front of him was so strange that Uchiha Itachi hesitated at this moment. However, he was hesitating. The next moment, he only felt the figure in front of him blur. Not good. Uchiha Itachi's expression changed. Subconsciously want to block. So fast. The thought appeared, but one hand was directly on Uchiha Itachi's forehead. Nissan. The whispered voice spoke, and the adult Sasuke's expression was extremely complicated, but at this moment his forehead was blown by the sea, and the purple Rinnegan appeared. Rinnegan. Nissan. Before Uchiha Itachi could shock Rinnegan, he was pulled back by the voice of adult Sasuke. Simple words, simple titles, seemed to come from the endless past. In front of Uchiha Itachi's eyes, there seemed to be a small figure following him. Nissan, Nissan, play with me this afternoon. Nissan, teach me Shuriken. Nissan, Shuriken is so difficult, can I not learn it? Nissan. A series of voices, calling out from the heart at this moment, made Uchiha Itachi's body freeze in place. This should have been taboo on the battlefield, but at the moment Uchiha Itachi didn't care about it at all. He stared blankly in front of him, looking at this completely unfamiliar figure. But for some reason, this completely unfamiliar figure gradually overlapped with the softest figure in his heart. Afterwards, the two are no longer separated from each other. Sasuke. Uchiha Itachi muttered to himself, his heart fluctuating violently. His eyes were blankly staring at the figure in front of him who seemed to be older than him. At this moment, his thoughts don't know how to flow. At this moment, the whole world was silent, only leaves gently falling from the top of the two of them. Sasuke, you've grown taller. I don't know how long it took before Uchiha Itachi's voice sounded slowly, and the smile became extremely integrated at this moment. The glacier that has not melted for 10,000 years seems to have melted at this moment. How much is contained in the simple words, at this moment, I am afraid that even Uchiha Itachi, who speaks the voice, cannot know. He just stared blankly in front of him, at his younger brother. In the jungle, the wind is blowing gently, Uchiha Itachi's smile has never been gentler. And in the tenderness, there is also a kind of pampering, especially when Uchiha Itachi looked at the broken arm of the adult Sasuke. You must have suffered a lot. Can you tell me your story? Uchiha Itachi's voice was very soft, so soft that it seemed that he was afraid of touching the adult Sasuke. Of course, Nissan. The adult Sasuke smiled and nodded. Then the two jumped onto a branch and sat up, just like when they were children. The adult Sasuke's voice also slowly sounded. Not so long ago, in the Valley of the End, after I fought Naruto, I went to Orochimaru, and there I began to learn. 3 years later, I broke with Orochimaru, I killed Orochimaru, and merged his power, so I wanted to go to Nissan for revenge. Adult Sasuke slowly tells his own story. Also that one called Hokage Ninja story. It's just that this story is no longer from Naruto's point of view, but from Sasuke's point of view. From the Valley of the End, to learning with Orochimaru. To turn against Orochimaru. To Battle of the Brothers. To join the Akatsuki organization. To the Fourth Ninja World War. Adult Sasuke's voice is not loud. Uchiha Itachi listened quietly without any interruption. It's just that the smile on his face never stopped. Even after hearing the battle with Sasuke, Uchiha Itachi's expression didn't fluctuate much. Even after the Fourth Ninja War, Uchiha Madara, and Uchiha Obito, he did the same. Because for Uchiha Itachi, there is probably nothing more important in this world than his brother. Even if these are enough intelligence to drive the entire ninja world crazy. Until adulthood, Sasuke slowly told the story after the Fourth Ninja World War. Especially when it comes to his marriage and his daughter, Uchiha Itachi's expression changed. Little Sakura, it's your teammate. That's a nice girl. Daughter, tell me. Sasuke, is your name Sarana? What is he like? Uchiha Itachi's voice seemed like an elder at this moment, and he began to ask the adult Sasuke about Sasuke's news. And adult Sasuke also spoke with a smile. The smiles of the two of them at this moment are so soft. And this talk lasted almost a day and a night. When the morning sun gradually falls, the figure of Uchiha Itachi slowly stood up from the treetops. Alright Sasuke, you should have important things to do when you return to this era. Go ahead. Uchiha Itachi spoke softly. Nissan. The adult Sasuke spoke softly, with hesitation in his words. Go, I believe in my choice in your world, and I will not regret it. Remember, Sasuke, you are an extension of me. Uchiha Itachi's figure landed on the ground, and he spoke softly. After the words were finished, his figure directly mentioned Kisame and walked slowly into the distance. Nissan. I see. Adult Sasuke spoke softly. Immediately, the confusion in his eyes gradually dissipated, and in turn came firmness. His right hand involuntarily covered his eyes. And his figure also disappeared in place at this moment. The other side. Accompany Sasuke to leave. Kisami's figure also slowly came to life immediately. Hey, Mr. Itachi, what happened just now? Why do I seem to faint? Kisami's voice sounded from the jungle. No, I just tried my new illusion just now. Yeah. The voices of the two were talking, and gradually faded away. It's just that no one knows what Uchiha Itachi is thinking at this moment. For the adult Sasuke, such a conversation completely untied some knots in his heart. His last burden was gone. When his figure appeared in front of Naruto again, there seemed to be more smiles on his face. Sasuke uncle, what did you do? Why do you feel that you have changed a lot? Boruto spoke with a curious voice, and his eyes couldn't help but look at the adult Sasuke. Even if he didn't know anything, at this moment he could clearly feel the change of adult Sasuke. Bump. Ouch. Dad, why are you hitting me? With a cry of pain, Boruto looked at Naruto with a mournful face. Why knock you? Have you practiced gymnastics today? Why don't you hurry up? Naruto spoke angrily. Ah, Dad, you were not like this in my world. Boruto spoke with a sad face. No, how do you face օTsutsuki? Don't forget, you still have a օTsutsuki inside you. If you don't become stronger, do you want to become him? Naruto spoke angrily. Ah, good, good. I know Dad. Single quote. Boruto spoke quickly. The figure also ran out immediately. For some reason, facing his father in this world, he was even more afraid than facing his father in the original world. No matter what Naruto said these 2 days, he didn't dare to refute anything. Basically choose to obey. This time it wasn't a gift either. In response, he ran out quickly. Obviously, he went to practice gymnastics. And when Boruto left, Naruto's gaze immediately turned to adult Sasuke. Are you ready? Although the abilities of my current body have not been fully developed, although the effect is not as good as Senju Hashirama's, it's hard to say. Once transplanted, even if you don't evolve immediately, you probably won't be able to keep it for long. When he spoke, Naruto's expression was serious. Ready. However, I don't intend to transplant your cells, Naruto. The adult Sasuke nodded, then shook his head, and looked at Naruto in the same way. Not to transplant my cells. The adult Sasuke's words made Naruto stunned for a moment. Yes, Naruto, although your level of power development is greater than that of the original track, after all, you have not fully integrated Ashura's power. Transplanting your cells is enough to complete the evolution, but this is not enough. Instead of in this way, it is better to directly obtain first-generation cells. Trust us, Konoha should already know about it. Adult Sasuke spoke in a deep voice. The words that came out caused Naruto to raise his eyebrows. Although adult Sasuke's perception ability is not as good as adult Naruto, but with Rinnegan, it is not too difficult for him to find something. As for the adult Sasuke's words, while Naruto raised his brow, he couldn't help but fell into thought. As the adult Sasuke said, his cells must not be fully developed now, and transplanting his cells can indeed allow Sasuke to guide the power of 6 paths. But how long it will take, 1 year, 10 years, or 100 years, is really hard to say. After all, Even decades ago, Uchiha Madara obtained the cells of Senju Hashirama, and it was decades before he successfully channeled the power of six paths. That was also the result of Uchiha Madara, and Senju Hashirama exploiting the power of Ashura and Indra to ultimate. Although the adult Sasuke has already activated the power of six paths, he has not fully activated the power of Ashura after all, and no one knows how long it will take. In this case, instead of transplanting other cells, it is better to directly transplant first-generation cells. Especially in today's extremely tight time situation, it is even more so. Good. I'm going to see Pervy Sage now, and Granny Tsunade, they should allow it. Thoughts flowed, Naruto quickly made a decision. Although it is difficult to obtain first Hokage cells, it is not impossible in Konoha. Especially thinking about the current situation, Naruto gritted his teeth and made a decision. Good. I'll go with you. Adult Sasuke nodded, and soon the two were off. Head towards Konoha Center, Hokage's office. And at this time in Hokage's office, Jiraiya and Tsunade are still discussing adult Sasuke, and Naruto. According to Naruto, the enemy named ՕTsutsuki should arrive tomorrow. Jiraiya, have you thought of any way? Although I have begun to order the emergency evacuation of people, I am afraid that alone will not be enough. Tsunade frowned and spoke, with some worry in his expression. Now they have almost believed Naruto's words. No way, it doesn't look like a fake no matter what. Believe it or not, both Jiraiya and Tsunade couldn't help but fell into tension. ՕTsutsuki, the legendary clan of the mother of the Sage of Six Paths, is terrifying even to think about, and they have to face it. Honestly, Tsunade, I don't. This kind of legendary existence, we don't have any intelligence or information at all. Jiraiya gave a wry smile, a little helpless in his expression. Jiraiya, how about this, let's call Naruto over, and that Sasuke, we still need to find out. Tsunade pondered for a moment, then spoke in a low voice. This. Jiraiya's heart skipped a beat. But before he could speak, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Tsunade looked restrained, and then spoke. Soon, a Chunin pushed the door open and entered. Master Hokage, please see Uzumaki Naruto. Chunin knelt down on one knee and spoke respectfully. Naruto. Tsunade froze for a moment, then exchanged a glance with Jiraiya. Let him in. Jiraiya spoke. Yes. Chunin was a little surprised, but after realizing that Tsunade had no objection, he quickly responded. Soon, Naruto and grown-ups are walking in. Grandma Tsunade. Pervy Sage. Naruto walked in, just in time to see Tsunade, and Jiraiya. As soon as he spoke, he looked at his teacher with emotion. This one will always be the figure with the fondest memories in his memory. It was he who gave him the father-like experience he had never had before, and it was he who gave him the sense of family affection that no one had ever given him. Without Jiraiya, Naruto has no idea what his future holds. Iruka and Kakashi's guidance to him is just a guide, and Pervy Sage is his real-life mentor. He taught him a lot of ninjutsu and ninja ways. Naruto still clearly remembers the tears that day, and the promise he failed to keep. A tearful reunion. At this moment, Naruto has 1,000 words in his heart. But in the end it was slowly suppressed. Because at this moment, he is very clear about what he wants to do. Today is not the time for him to be sentimental. This time is his only chance and also his greatest opportunity. He must seize it. Only by seizing this opportunity will he have the possibility of turning things around in the future. Naruto, welcome back. I don't know, I call you Naruto, or 7th generation. Jiraiya's gaze towards Naruto was also full of fluctuations, with a slightly strange pervasiveness, but at this moment Tsunade was much more direct, looking at Naruto, and spoke slowly. Grandma Tsunade, I'm Naruto. You can call me Naruto. Naruto spoke softly. So Naruto, can you tell us what you want to do when you come back this time? Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief, his eyes once again focused on Naruto, and the words slowly spoke again. I need to face stronger, Granny Tsunade, Pervy Sage, you should know what kind of enemy we have to face. My current strength is not enough. Even if I can surpass Master First Hokage in the future, it is still not enough. I need to be stronger. And to become stronger, I need your help. Facing Tsunade's temptation, Naruto remained straightforward. Now time is not enough, he must seize every minute and every second. Although it is expected that Otsutsuki Arashiki will arrive tomorrow, but in fact, Otsutsuki Arashiki may arrive at any time, and he has to speed up the time. What? Naruto, what did you say? Tsunade stood up abruptly, his expression couldn't help but look at Naruto in disbelief. At this moment, Tsunade felt that his ears were hallucinating. As the granddaughter of Senju Hashirama, Tsunade is very aware of the strength of her grandfather. Compared with her grandfather, the entire ninja world today is like a firefly and a bright moon, which is completely different. At this moment, Naruto actually said that he surpassed her grandfather. Grandma Tsunade, I'm not joking. Naruto's eyes were extremely sincere. Although first Hokage is powerful enough, in this ninja era, even the legendary ninja Shu Luo Yuzebo Madara and Senju Hashirama have a certain gap, but when the ninja level enters the Six Paths realm, and first Hokage is not a concept at all. No matter how strong the first Hokage is, it still pales in comparison to the existence of the Six Paths class. At this moment, Tsunade is extremely shocked in his heart, and in today's ninja world, only she and Onoki know the power of first Hokage. But just because she was so clear, she understood the importance of Naruto's words. Naruto, I see, what do you need us to do? Tsunade took a deep breath, looked at Naruto again, and spoke very directly. Because of that encounter, Tsunade has absolute trust in Naruto, even this reborn Naruto is the same. Even though what Naruto said shocked her extremely, she still chose to believe it. Just like in the original track, when pain invaded, Tsunade resolutely chose to recall Naruto because she believed in Naruto. Grandma Tsunade, we need first-generation cells. Sasuke's current chakra has been taken away by that Otsutsuki. There is only one way to recover quickly, transplanting first-generation cells. I don't know if Grandma Tsunade can use first-generation cells. Attach this severed arm to Sasuke. Naruto nodded, then spoke in a deep voice. And the way he thought of was him on the original track. In the Battle of the Valley of the End, he and Sasuke lost their arms one after another. Finally, under Tsunade's medical ninjutsu, he connected the broken arm with first-generation cells. Now his idea is to connect Sasuke's severed arm with first-generation cells. Although first-generation cells are difficult for ordinary people to bear, Sasuke has absolutely no problem. And once the broken arm is connected, not only can it further guide the power of Six Paths, but it can also restore Sasuke's arms, and his strength will definitely be greatly improved. Sasuke. Tsunade looked at the adult Sasuke, frowning slightly. No way, Sasuke has just defected, and it is obviously not so easy for her to accept a future Sasuke now. Fifth generation, I know that I may not be able to gain your trust, but I promise Naruto will protect this village. Adult Sasuke speaks, chakra surges, and the other eyed Rinnegan presence. And when he saw Rinnegan, Jiraiya's pupils couldn't help constricting violently. This is. For a moment, Jiraiya thought of the former disciple. Good. I can promise you. Wait for us for half an hour. Tsunade took a deep breath, looked at Naruto, then at the adult Sasuke, and then spoke in a deep voice. Thank you. Adult Sasuke nodded. Jiraiya. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya. Jiraiya's heart shook back, and she also glanced at Sasuke, then suppressed it temporarily, and nodded towards Tsunade. The next moment, the figures of the two disappeared in place. Soon in Hokage's office, only Naruto and adult Sasuke are left. Sasuke, aren't you going? After a moment of silence, Naruto looked at Sasuke with a complicated expression. As a seventh-generation project, he naturally knew about some of the past secrets. He originally thought that Sasuke would go there, but he didn't expect Sasuke to stay. That one belongs to me in this world, and I shouldn't interfere. The adult Sasuke's expression was a bit complicated, he glanced at the distance, and spoke softly. And the other side. Soon Tsunade and Jiraiya arrived outside a deep crypt. Outside the crypt, the two root members fainted before they had time to react. Jiraiya and Tsunade then stepped in. Through the crypt. It soon became apparent that there was something wrong with this. Buildings stand everywhere. Among them, there are 3 steps, 1 whistle and 5 steps, 1 post. Each of them is an existence above elite Chunin. There are even Jonin among them. Even though both of them are cage level in strength, they were discovered quickly when they arrived. Of course, this is also what the two of them had no intention of hiding. My lord, 5th generation. Master Jiraiya. The root members were originally facing a big enemy, but at this moment they couldn't help looking at the two of them with some surprise. Call Danzo out. Jiraiya spoke in a deep voice. Facing his words, the root members looked at each other, not knowing what to do for a while. Fortunately, at this moment, footsteps sounded in the darkness. Jiraiya, Tsunade, you don't deal with government affairs, why are you here? In the darkness, a figure came out slowly. His right hand and right eye were covered with bandages, and the other hand was leaning on a cane. When he walked out at this moment, a coercion permeated the whole around. One root member immediately got down on one knee. They hadn't even faced Tsunade before. Nothing, Danzo, just wanted to borrow something from you. Looking at the surrounding environment, Jiraiya frowned slightly, and then looked at Danzo's calm opening. Why? The old man has been dismissed from his position now, but there is nothing good. Danzo spoke calmly. I heard that you have done a lot of research on Grandpa's cells. As Hokage, I want to take some back. Tsunade looked at Danzo, and spoke in a cold voice. For Danzo, Tsunade doesn't resent him for researching his grandfather's cells. After all, it was his second grandfather who started this thing first, but simply doesn't like this one. Master Hokage, I don't know what you're talking about. First generation cell research has long been stopped. There is nothing you want here, old man. You can go back. Danzo's pupils shrank, and he spoke again calmly. Danzo, we didn't come to talk to you today. You have to borrow what you borrow, and you have to borrow if you don't borrow. Otherwise, your root base today may not be necessary to survive. Before Tsunade could speak, Jiraiya took a step forward. The next moment, a majestic chakra burst out from around him at this moment. The powerful power made the faces of several root ninjas kneeling on one knee flush instantly. At this moment, Jiraiya knew that they didn't have much time, and naturally they didn't have the heart to talk nonsense with the old guy in front of them. Oh, Jiraiya, didn't Sarutobi teach you to respect teachers? There was a ferocious look in Danzo's eyes, and chakra in his body also surged at this moment. Danzo, as Hokage, I have the right to everything in the village. Are you going against Hokage's will? Tsunade spoke calmly again. At this moment, there was also a terrifying chakra explosion all over her body, and the 100 healings mark was also faintly visible on her forehead. Facing the two cage levels, the people around were sweating continuously. Even Danzo's hand, which was subconsciously holding the bandage on his right hand, couldn't help but stop. Facing a Jiraiya, he is not in danger, but with Jiraiya and Tsunade, even he has to be cautious. Especially Tsunade or Hokage. Tsunade, the old man will send things to you, please go back. No. Putting down the palm, Danzo spoke again, and the figure was about to turn around and leave. Danzo, I said now. I don't have that time to wait for you. But before Danzo could turn his head, Tsunade's voice sounded again. Danzo couldn't help but stop the original step. But in the end, he suppressed his anger and spoke. Sai, go to Laboratory 3 and get item 13 and give it to Hokage. Danzo's words came out, and the figure disappeared into the darkness. Soon, a boy wearing a mask walked into a room in the distance. In a few minutes, when he came out, he already had an extra box in his hand. Master Hokage. The boy spoke with a childish voice, and handed the box to Tsunade. Tsunade checked it out, then nodded. The figures of the two quickly disappeared at the root base. In the room. Bump. That was the sound of teacups breaking, and Danzo's gloomy face became more and more intense. Tsunade. Jiraiya. The cold voice echoed in the room, accompanied by an incomparably rich murderous aura. But obviously, neither Jiraiya nor Tsunade knew at this moment. Of course, even if they knew, they might not care at this moment. The figures of the two left quickly. Then Tsunade and Jiraiya rushed towards the medical department. 20 minutes later, Tsunade had the result. The two returned to Hokage's office. Awaited. Two lights flashed, and Jiraiya and Tsunade reappeared. It was only half an hour before they left. Grandma Tsunade, how are you? Naruto looked at Tsunade. Good. I have studied the cells of the great-grandfather. It is not a big problem to transplant, But think about it, the cells of the great-grandfather are not so easy to bear. When the second grandfather did the experiment, there was no one who could withstand the big grandfather's cells. Grandpa's power, can you really do it? Tsunade looked at Sasuke and spoke in a low voice. As I said before, the research on first generation started very early. And it was hosted by second Hokage himself, but obviously, the results were all failures. Although there was a successful case in the follow-up, it was only one, and it was born because the other party was not able to take on too much grandpa's power. If it was an arm transplant, the power contained in it would be terrifying. I want to bear it. Almost impossible. Do not worry. Fifth generation, there should be no problem. Rinnegan was awakened because of the transplantation of Shodai's cells. The grown-up Sasuke nodded, and Tsunade and Jiraiya's brows twitched again at the words that came out. You mean, your Rinnegan was transplanted from Shodai's power awakened? Jiraiya couldn't wait to ask. Originally, Jiraiya was still thinking about whether Sasuke had found the body of his apprentice, even if the two had different Rinnegans, he had to think that way. After all, the eyes of the legendary sage of six paths could not be like this. But now it seems that it is not the same thing at all. Yes, that's the story of the Fourth Ninja World War, it's a bit long to tell. The adult Sasuke couldn't help touching his eyes, and opened his mouth with emotion. The Fourth Ninja World War. The words that popped up again made Jiraiya and Tsunade's hearts fluctuate again. But it is clear that this moment is not the time for volatility. It's not the time to scrutinize. Although they don't know how strong ՕTsutsuki is now, they feel terror in even a few words. And this kind of horror will come tomorrow without accident. In this one case, it is obviously inappropriate to continue talking now. Alright. Jiraiya, now is not the time to think about it. Sasuke, since you've already made up your mind, get ready, we can start anytime. Tsunade interrupted Jiraiya with a deep voice. Thank you. Then let's start now. The adult Sasuke nodded in response. Okay. Then let's go. Tsunade nodded. After that, several people quickly set off towards the medical department. With the existence of cage level, the speed is naturally very fast. Even Naruto at this moment is quite cage level in strength. A few minutes later, several people rushed to the medical department. In this rush, Tsunade and Jiraiya are undoubtedly more sure. Not to mention Sasuke, Naruto's strength far exceeded their imagination. Generation cells, the ability of ՕTsutsuki. Medical department. At this moment, the entire medical department has been completely under martial law, surrounded by Anbu on duty, and in the center, in the hall. Jiraiya, Tsunade, adult Sasuke have all arrived. In the next 3 years, Naruto will be fitted with prosthetics, and it is not a big problem to install prosthetics for Sasuke now. Even for Tsunade, if the problem of first-generation cells is not considered, this can only be regarded as a minor operation. However, considering the issue of first-generation cells, Tsunade also has to be vigilant. You can be sure. If you can't suppress the power of Grandpa, your cells will be completely swallowed by Grandpa. Tsunade's deep voice spoke again. At this moment he had to remind Sasuke again. I see. Adult Sasuke nodded. And after adult Sasuke nodded again, Tsunade couldn't help calming down. Soon, the two entered the operating room one after another. In the outside world, Naruto and Jiraiya stayed. The two were relatively silent. After a while, Jiraiya spoke slowly. Naruto, you have suffered a lot. The soft words are not big, but they seem to drip into the deepest lake in people's hearts, causing waves of waves. Although Jiraiya doesn't know what Naruto went through. But he knew how difficult it was for Naruto to reach that step. From a demon fox that everyone shouted and beat in a village, to 7th generation. This difficulty is more difficult than anyone imagined. Teacher Jiraiya. A soft voice spoke, and Naruto opened his mouth, but at the moment he found that he didn't know how to speak. Too many words. Too many words. Originally, he thought that he had countless things to confide to Pervy Sage, but at the first meeting, the second meeting, and even the third meeting, Naruto found that any of his words seemed so pale. Naruto, can you tell me your story? Speaking softly, Jiraiya came to the side and sat down, and also motioned for Naruto to sit down. Wiping the tears that silently slid down his face, he nodded. The figure also came to the side and sat down. Words came out of his mouth. From Sasuke's defection to his practice with him. 3 years later. The emergence of Shao organization. One tale was captured. One picture after another slowly unfolded from the boy's mouth. Just like the adult Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi before, the same is true for the boy and Jiraiya at this moment. Listening to this obviously swollen story, Jiraiya's heart could not help but fluctuate slightly. From shock, to thoughtfulness. Be distressed. To sigh. The night came slowly amidst the boy's narration. Watching the moonlight rising slowly. Jiraiya couldn't help but let out a long breath. Naruto. The soft words came up again. Jiraiya looked at Naruto at this moment, and there was only distress at this moment. Even after hearing the stories one by one, he still couldn't imagine how the boy grew up to the level in the story step by step. Pain, Uchiha Obito, Uchiha Madara, Otsutsuki Kagaya, those unimaginable enemies, how did the disciples in front of them overcome one by one? So much so that Jiraiya didn't care much about the almost massive amount of information at this moment. Even though he has always paid the most attention to the collection of intelligence, it is the same at this moment. But before the two could express their feelings, the door of the operating room opened slowly, and Tsunade walked out. As Tsunade walked out, both of them couldn't help looking at the past. Successful. Grandpa's cells are actually compatible with his own. There is not even any sign of devouring, but it is actively integrated into Sasuke's body. Tsunade opens with an incredible opening. Even after experiencing all that just now, he still felt incredible. The very violent first-generation cells turned out to be extremely gentle at the moment they merged with Sasuke, and they actively integrated. The process of connecting prosthetic limbs is much easier than Tsunade imagined. And listening to Tsunade's words, Naruto and Jiraiya couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Even though Naruto knew that nothing would happen, he was still a little worried. Fortunately, nothing unexpected happened. Grandma Tsunade, what about Sasuke? While heaving a sigh of relief, Naruto looked curiously at the operating room, and spoke with doubts. He should be absorbing the power of Grandpa, and it may take a while. But it should be fine in a few hours. Tsunade pondered for a moment, then answered softly. Naruto nodded. Then he looked at the two seriously. After pondering for a moment, he spoke again. Grandma Tsunade, Teacher Jiraiya, let me tell you about the ability of that Otsutsuki. Naruto spoke out. The two immediately became solemn. Naruto, you say. Tsunade spoke seriously. Naruto also started to talk immediately. After Momoshiki and Jinshi were killed, Urashiki still stayed on the earth trying to collect all the tail beast chakra. For this reason, he used Otsutsuki's treasure, plow, to go back in time and space, trying to take the 9 that was on me when I was a boy. Tail's chakra. It is dressed in white, carries a red light fishing rod on its back, and holds a red light fishing rod. It releases red light fishing lines and hooks during the battle, and can catch the opponent's chakra in an instant. In addition, Otsutsuki's standard configuration is white eyes, Rinnegan. Needless to say, Grandma Tsunade and Teacher Jiraiya should know the white eyes. Otsutsuki's white eyes are just a little stronger in pupil power. There is no difference in other things. The main thing is Rinnegan. Otsutsuki's Ura-style binocular ability switch between white eyes, red Rinnegan, and blue Rinnegan. The blue Rinnegan has 2 unique abilities, time regression and 1,000 paper cranes, and the red Rinnegan can speed up the opening speed of Wanquan Bilyangsaka. Wanquan Bilyangsaka its time and space capabilities. In addition, he can transform into a new form after devouring the red light fish basket and his own Rinnegan. In the new form, his physical skills and chakra will be skyrocketed, which is almost 10 times that before the transformation. This time and space ability. It's really troublesome. Listening to Naruto's narration, Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at each other. Can't help but smile wryly. Even if they overestimate Otsutsuki enough, listening to it at the moment still makes their scalps tingle. Good. Then, let's get ready. That one Otsutsuki is supposed to come tomorrow. I also want to see what kind of people the mother of Sage of Six Paths is like. Jiraiya took a deep breath to calm himself down before speaking, and his figure walked towards the door. Naruto is left to you for the time being. I have to get ready too. Tsunade sighed and spoke in the same way, and his figure also moved towards the outside. Facing Otsutsuki, even as Sanin, they had to get nervous. Soon the two disappeared. And only Naruto was left in the hall. And Sasuke in the room. At this moment, the breath on Sasuke's body is constantly rising and falling, and a majestic chakra is constantly presenting around him. The power of Ashura combined with the power of Indra is the key to channeling the power of the six paths. But it doesn't just need the power of Ashura plus the power of Indra to be able to guide it. Fortunately, Sasuke has experience, this kind of guidance is not too difficult, and it does not need to take decades like Uchiha Madara. Just the moment the prosthetic was installed, the power of six paths had been channeled by Sasuke. A familiar force began to reappear in his body, the same feeling as before. Only at this moment, because of the lack of Naruto, Sasuke at this moment cannot see the Sage of Six Paths. But that's enough. With the drawing out of the power of six paths, the originally detached chakra on Sasuke recovers rapidly, and at the same time, there is a majestic pupil power on Sasuke's right eye, which is pushing the Sharingan in his right eye to a higher level advancing. It won't be long before the Rinnegan in his right eye will be fully conceived. The morning sun shines down. The whole Konoha couldn't help but fell into tension. If someone was there at this moment, they would find that Konoha was completely empty. There are no longer any pedestrians on the street. There is no trace of life in the room. 3 days was enough for Tsunade to transfer all the people in Konoha. At this moment, Jiraiya and Tsunade are also ready to meet the enemy. In front of the huge Konoha gate. Pale skin and long light blue hair, tied in a high ponytail. A figure with no eyebrows, 2 dots on his forehead, and 2 horns in the shape of a forehead protector suddenly appeared in midair. And he is undoubtedly Otsutsuki Arashi who traveled through time and space. Also the legendary Otsutsuki clan. Otsutsuki, that is a race from an alien planet. Clan members are born with great strength and do not need to practice like ordinary people. They use the wedge to reincarnate and resurrect, and they are existences beyond death. Obsessed with devouring the fruit of the divine tree, the main purpose of life is to plant the divine tree on an alien planet and devour all life to harvest the fruit of the divine tree. After Taoshi and Jinshi were killed, Arashi still stayed on the earth trying to collect all the tail beast chakra. For this reason, he used Otsutsuki's treasure, plow, to go back in time and space, trying to capture the 9 tails chakra from the boy Naruto. It's just that the adult Sasuke intervened and lost him in time and space for a few days. The moment has finally arrived. Oh, let me see where the demon fox is. Oh, there. He, Chakra the fox, you are really weak at this time. Then I won't be polite. Otsutsuki Arashiki spoke with a laughing voice, his expression was relaxed, and his figure was directly towards Muifei. In this era, he has absolute self-confidence. He won't be able to beat Naruto in the future, but in this era, he doesn't have the slightest worry. Even having an adult Sasuke is useless, that guy has been pulled away from chakra in order to protect the son of the fox, and it is not so easy to recover. But just when Otsutsuki Arashiki is about to enter the village, several rays of light flickered. Tsunade and Jiraiya appeared in front one after another. Oh, it looks like there are still 2 ants that need to be dealt with. Looking at the 2 people who appeared suddenly, Otsutsuki Arashiki still lost his composure and relaxed, and went directly towards the 2 with a fishing rod swing. Tsunade, be careful, that rod can pull away from chakra. Jiraiya spoke, and the figure quickly flickered to the side. And the imprint that had already started in his hand moved again at this moment. New. Tsunade responded. On the forehead, the 100 healings mark spread, and a majestic chakra began to surge out. It was clear that both Jiraiya and Tsunade were using their full strength at this moment against Otsutsuki Arashiki. Bump. White smoke rises. On Jiraiya's side, the seal was completely completed, and 2 toads appeared on Jiraiya's shoulders. Little Jiraiya, it's time for you to complete Sage Mode on your own too. He spoke with an annoyed voice. On Jiraiya's shoulders are the 2 immortals of Mount Myoboku. At the same time, Jiraiya's body has also been partially transformed into a frog. The red eye shadow is pervasive, and there is also a huge chakra. Oh ho ho, the power is so familiar, but it seems to be much worse than that of the fox. Otsutsuki Ura style smiled and spoke with a relaxed expression. Even if Tsunade and Jiraiya showed their strongest posture at the moment, it was the same. The fishing rod swung. The red fishing rod flew and rushed towards the two of them. Stop looking down on people. Tsunade snorted coldly. In an instant, the figure appeared directly in front of Otsutsuki Arashiki. The next moment, Tsunade directly bombarded out with a powerful punch. Oh, it's really a good attack as an ant. Otsutsuki Arashiki said with a chuckle, and the next moment, as if he had expected it, Tsunade's figure went straight to the air. Boom. Rumble. Huge power poured out, and the entire ground collapsed at this moment. But at this very moment, Jiraiya's Indian decision has also been completed. Sage Art Gomon. Boom. The next moment, a huge sea of flames covered the entire area in all directions. Sage Art Gomon, this is Jiraiya's Senjutsu combined with the two great sages in the state of sage mode. Jiraiya uses oil, Fukasaku Senjin uses wind style, and Shima Senjin uses fire style. The combination of the three techniques can produce huge lethality, can burn the opponent to the ground in a large area, and can theoretically devour all tangible substances. However, it is theoretical after all, and it cannot be solved in the face of Nagato, let alone Otsutsuki. A huge sea of flames covered the surroundings, but at this moment it was still empty. Otsutsuki Arashiki's white eyes turned into blue Rinnegan, and his figure also turned into 1,000 paper cranes at this moment. When it reappeared, it was already above Jiraiya. At the same time, the fishing rod was thrown out at this moment and rushed towards Jiraiya. Fortunately, Tsunade reappeared at this moment, and came with another punch. Otsutsuki's Ura-style figure turned into 1,000 paper cranes again. And Tsunade's figure fell. It's not an option to go on like this. That guy Rinnegan can go back in time, and we can't attack him. Tsunade looked ugly. As an elite ninja with intelligence, she understood the key almost instantly. Obviously, their several attacks were ineffective, and the most important thing was the opponent's ability to go back in time. For them the attack is just now, but for this Otsutsuki it may not be just now. Tsunade, you control him. Just let him land. Jiraiya's expression couldn't help but be equally dignified. At this moment, he also knew that going on like this was not an option. But after hearing the information yesterday, he had an idea. The only difference now is timing. Good. Tsunade glanced at Jiraiya, then nodded. The tacit understanding between the two made her at this moment clearly understand what to do. And at this moment, on a roof of Konoha, adult Sasuke and Naruto are standing here at this time. All eyes turned to the front. Naruto, are you sure you don't want to make a move? Sasuke spoke with a doubtful voice. Wait a little longer, we won't have many chances, we must defeat the enemy with one blow. Naruto spoke in a deep voice. Naturally, the two had already arrived, and the reason why they didn't make a move was to wait for the opportunity. Although Otsutsuki Ura style is not as good as Otsutsuki I style, and even compared with Otsutsuki Momo style, it is Otsutsuki after all, and Naruto must be fully prepared. Boom. Rumble. The huge roar is constantly echoing, and Tsunade's output is undoubtedly extremely violent, especially now that the 100 healings mark has been completely lifted. The terrain around Konoha completely changed at this moment. The ground cracked, huge cracks. One after another the trees collapsed and were broken. At this moment, it was like an earth dragon turning over. The terrifying chakra poured out in all directions with impunity. But obviously, even this continuous output has limited impact on Otsutsuki. Most of the attacks, Otsutsuki Ura can dodge directly. Unavoidable, Otsutsuki is enough to evade with time regression. So much so, even after 10 minutes. At this moment, Otsutsuki Arashi is still intact, but Tsunade and Jiraiya are a little out of breath, and Chakra is more exhausted. Time seems to be running out. You two ants, it's time to end. Otsutsuki Ura's style frivolous voice rose, and the next moment his body turned into a cardboard box, and he appeared behind Tsunade in an instant. The fishing rod in hand is about to pierce Tsunade directly. Apparently the long fight also made Otsutsuki Arashiki a little annoyed. But the moment he landed, a smile appeared on Tsunade's face. That is the moment Tsunade smiled. Jiraiya's hand was pressed to the ground instantly at this moment. At this moment, the entire surrounding ground that was originally fragmented began to change rapidly. At this moment, the original stones and trees began to quickly turn into walls of flesh. The giant toad living in the hidden place of Mount Myoboku is huge, and Jiraiya can only summon a part of its stomach. The stomach of the giant toad is Jiraiya's strongest enchantment, and generally no one can escape from it. At this moment, the moment ՕTsutsuki fell to the ground, he was directly summoned by Jiraiya. Going back in time is really troublesome. But after a night of thinking, Jiraiya also thought of a way. In the stomach of the Yansu giant toad, the air is filled with colorless, odorless, poisonous stomach acid gas, and this poisonous gas attacks indiscriminately. It only takes a few seconds to delay, and even backtracking is useless, because attacks are being recruited all the time. Like this moment. Even if Otsutsuki Arashiki was controlled by the Iwasuku toad, he didn't care at all. The struggle of ants. Is this the grave you have chosen for yourselves? The voice of a chuckle spoke. While swinging the fishing rod, the body directly broke away from the shackles of the big toad in Yansu. The eyes looked at Jiraiya and Tsunade playfully. The fishing rod in his hand was about to be thrown out again. In the face of Otsutsuki's Ura-style attack, Jiraiya and Tsunade chose to retreat. There was no direct attack. Otsutsuki Arashiki was not in a hurry, but moved forward at a leisurely pace. As long as the walls of flesh along the way try to wrap around him, they will be easily torn apart by his chakra. But soon, Otsutsuki Arashi found something was wrong. With a muffled snort, his figure instantly bent down, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This is. Looking at the blood on his hands, Otsutsuki Arashiki looked disbelieving. You have no chance. In the toad's stomach, the air is filled with colorless, odorless and poisonous stomach acid gas. Even if you go back in time, it will be too late. Jiraiya's voice sounded. The next moment his figure appeared above Otsutsuki Arashi. An oversized Rasengan appeared, and the wall of flesh receded quickly. Sage art, big ball Rasengan. The voice spoke. The huge Rasengan was also imprinted on Otsutsuki Arashiki's body. At this moment, Otsutsuki Arashi, who was heavily poisoned, had no time to dodge or backtrack. Boom. The chakra of chakra poured out, and the huge Rasengan flew directly into the distance with Otsutsuki Arashiki. Boom. Rumble. The broken deep forest roared again. A huge light lit up in the distance. Strands of chakra poured out. In the same place, Jiraiya couldn't help panting heavily. The long-term battle had exhausted him extremely at this moment. Solve it. Tsunade opened his mouth with his own hands, and the figure appeared next to Jiraiya. It's not that easy to solve, be careful. Jiraiya spoke softly. And at the moment when his words fell. Ahead, laughter came. A tattered figure slowly floated in midair. Lowly creature. Hateful humans, humble humans, lowly humans, I will kill you. A roar came from Otsutsuki Arashiki's mouth, and amid the shocking gazes of Jiraiya and Tsunade, Otsutsuki Arashiki directly closed his eyes with one hand. PFF'd. Bright red blood spilled, and his eyes were directly shut off by him. This scene can be said to be extremely bloody and terrifying. Even Tsunade and Jiraiya who were facing each other couldn't help but frown. Be careful, he's about to transform. In the blink of an eye, both Jiraiya and Tsunade knew what was going to happen. And at this moment on the high platform in the distance, adults Sasuke and Naruto couldn't help feeling tense. Sasuke. Words open. On Naruto's body, a golden aura rose, and at this moment he entered Kuramasha chakra mode instantly, and at the same time, red-eye shadow permeated his whole body at this moment. The seal has not been lifted, and Naruto can only use Nine Tails chakra mode at this moment, and it can't last long. But Sage mode is not a problem for Naruto. After losing Nine Tails, he intentionally strengthened Sage mode. Not only can he enter Sage mode in seconds, but it can also last longer, which is not inferior to the original first Hokage. Sasuke nodded, the hair in the left eye parted, and Rinnegan appeared. The next moment, the heavenly hand power was activated instantly. Space replacement. Sasuke's figure disappeared in an instant. On the broken battlefield, Otsutsuki Arashiki was still laughing wantonly, and the berserk chakra swept in all directions unscrupulously. But at this very moment, the space ahead fluctuates instantly. Otsutsuki Arashiki, who lost Rinnegan, didn't even have time to react when the figure of adult Sasuke appeared in front of him. PFF'd. The Kusanagi sword slashed, and the next moment, blood spurted out, and Otsutsuki Urashina held Rinnegan's right hand and flew straight up. Ah! There was a shrill scream, and Otsutsuki Ura's wanton voice stopped abruptly. And at the moment when he screamed, Naruto instantly appeared in midair. Sage mode, coupled with Kurama Chakra mode made his speed unimaginable. Just at the moment when Sasuke finished his attack, his figure had already appeared on top of Otsutsuki's Ura-style throwing right hand, and he directly grabbed this right hand. At the same time, there was a violent sound of wind in his hand. Sage art, wind-style spiral shuriken. Accompanied by the sound of the wind and the violent sound of Feng Ming, a huge spiral shuriken directly appeared in his hand. Then it was directly projected by him. Boom. Rumble. A huge light lit up. Then came the earth-shattering explosion. Unimaginable energy poured unscrupulously in all directions, and at this moment, the area of 1,000 meters above Fang Yuan was completely enveloped. All matter along the way is being strangled quickly. Tsunade and Jiraiya, who were about to continue fighting in the distance, couldn't help but stare at the scene in front of them in dumbfounded. Gudong, this kid. Jiraiya muttered to herself, unable to bear the shock in her heart. Such an attack, even if he took a hard blow, he had to weigh it. It seems that there is nothing wrong with us. Shock also appeared on Tsunade's face, but then it turned into a smile. Such a result is undoubtedly the best. In the sky. Naruto's figure fell slowly. Appeared next to the adult Sasuke. But before he carefully checked Rinnegan in front of him, he seemed to sense something, and subconsciously looked into the distance. At this moment, Rinnegan in Sasuke's right eye also opened, and his gaze converged to the front. Be careful, that guy doesn't seem to be so easy to solve. Adult Sasuke spoke in a low voice. The Kusanagi sword in his hand was also held again. Otsutsuki, you really are an immortal Xiaoqiang. Naruto couldn't help but opened his mouth, and the golden chakra on his body swept up again. And at this moment, in the center of the distance, the terrifying explosion subsided quickly at this moment, and a more violent chakra appeared. You despicable humans, you really pissed me off. Go to hell. There was a roaring sound, and at the next moment, a purple chakra in the shape of a four-pointed star appeared in the center, and then a giant black and purple oarfish was transformed into a huge purple-red chakra sphere from the mouth of the fish, which suddenly moved towards the crowd rushed over. Amazing meteor life. Dragon Palace. There was a Otsutsuki Ura-like sound after the terrifying attack. At this moment, the ՕTsutsuki Ura style has undergone earth-shaking changes. Although the eyes are still blind, even with blood, the golden Rinnegan is opened on the forehead, many black horizontal stripes appear on the face, and bird wings grow out of the head. Huge horns, and feet turned into black claws. Compared with the ՕTsutsuki Ura style breath at this moment before, it is undoubtedly stronger. Obviously at this moment, ՕTsutsuki Urashiki also turned on the crane mode, but compared to the crane mode in the original trajectory, ՕTsutsuki Urashiki lacked two eyes. Be careful, this guy's strength is no less than the Dao style before the fusion. The adult Sasuke spoke, and then the Sharingan appeared in his right eye, and then turned into Mangekyo, and Mangekyo continued to spin, and finally turned into Rinnegan. An equally powerful chakra rose through the adult Sasuke, and apparently after a day, his right eye also finally awakened. New. Naruto nodded, and now his eyeshadow was covering Nine Tails chakra mode again. And at this very moment, adult Sasuke moved. Start with great strength. The figure disappeared instantly. The reappearance was already behind ՕTsutsuki Urashiki, and the Kusanagi sword directly slashed down with lightning. Boom. A huge repulsive force erupted from ՕTsutsuki Urashiki, and the Kusanagi sword was directly blocked. But the adult Sasuke's attacks didn't end there. Above the left eye, the chakra converges. Amaterasu. There was a low-pitched voice, and the next moment, clusters of jet black flames rose from ՕTsutsuki Urashiki's body. This is the so-called black flame that will never go out. But obviously, such an attack is only for ninjas. Has no effect on ՕTsutsuki. The light in ՕTsutsuki's Ura-style hand appeared, and the flames were quickly swallowed up. At the same time, a majestic chakra rose up around him. But at this very moment, Naruto. The adult Sasuke's voice spoke. That's when the adult Sasuke speaks. Otsutsuki Arashiki's face suddenly changed. How come? At this moment, Otsutsuki Arashi found that the time and space around him were frozen. That's right, time and space are frozen. This time ability can only be activated by the superior Otsutsuki. This moment unexpectedly appeared on Uchiha Sasuke. But it was obvious that there was only surprise at this moment. Because at this moment of time freezing, Naruto's figure appeared above Otsutsuki Arashiki. Sage art, oversized jade spiral shuriken. A huge spiral shuriken that was more than 10 times bigger than before appeared directly in his hand. At this moment of freezing time and space, it directly pressed on Otsutsuki Arashiki's body. Boom. Rumble. The frozen time and space shattered, and the adult Sasuke staggered, covering his right eye subconsciously. And the whole surrounding was the sound of earth-shaking explosions. Within 10 kilometers of Fangyuan, the entire terrain was completely covered by light. The sound of the terrifying explosion shook the heavens and earth, and the whole world trembled. This blow poured almost all of Naruto's chakra, and the power of this blow even surpassed a nine-tailed beast bomb. That is a terrorist force capable of destroying a country. At this moment, Tsunade and Jiraiya were no longer shocked, but stunned. With such power, even they couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. Jiraiya, I kind of believe Naruto's words. Tsunade muttered to himself, thinking about what Naruto said earlier that he had surpassed the previous Hokage. The scene in front of me at this moment seems to be the best verification. The shock of Jiraiya and Tsunade at this moment is unimaginable. As Sannin, even if they are not the most powerful in the entire ninja world today, they can definitely rank in the top 10. But now what did they see? Whether it is the so-called Otsutsuki, the future Sasuke, or the Naruto who traveled back, they are much stronger than them. It can even be said that it does not exist in one dimension. Especially the future Sasuke, and Naruto's combat experience and combat talent made them feel their scalps tingling. At this moment, recalling Naruto's words before, both of them couldn't help but tense up. Neither Sasuke nor Naruto, who are so powerful, can cope with the future situation, so how should they face it? Old. Jiraiya sighed. The figure turned and moved towards Konoha. Tsunade nodded with a wry smile, and turned around in the same way. In the distance, the huge explosion gradually subsided, and the aura of Otsutsuki Ura disappeared completely, as if it had never appeared before. Burst of oversized jade spiral shuriken. It is enough to completely destroy a mountain peak. Otsutsuki Arashiki took this blow while being frozen in time and space, and his entire body was directly torn to pieces by the wind-style shuriken. There is no possibility. The figures of Naruto and adult Sasuke descend. It's just that Naruto couldn't help frowning at this moment. Of course not. Talking to himself, Naruto was a little disappointed. Originally he thought there would be a wedge after killing Otsutsuki Arashiki, but Naruto obviously wanted a wedge more than Rinnegan. Wedge is derived from the unique ability of the Otsutsuki family. People of the Otsutsuki family can copy themselves and digitize themselves, and then penetrate into the body of others. A black diamond-shaped imprint is used as the initial mark, and this imprint is the wedge. Specifically, the wedge is the compressed Otsutsuki backup file. The compressed file will be thawed little by little after a long time, and the thawing can also be accelerated through combat when all the data is thawed. The body of the device will be replaced by Otsutsuki's own data, and the existence of the device will completely disappear, and Otsutsuki himself will be resurrected. As long as the wedge remains, the Otsutsuki will be resurrected, beings beyond death. Although wedge has extremely strict requirements on the selection of tools. If the body of the vessel contains defects, the vessel cannot withstand the chakra of Otsutsuki himself when reincarnated, so that Otsutsuki himself cannot be fully resurrected, and will die after a few days. As the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan, the reincarnation of Ashura, Naruto definitely has the ability to carry wedges. And if you want to face future enemies and obtain the power of Otsutsuki, the wedge method is undoubtedly the most complete and the fastest. Compared to Rinnegan, who still needs to adapt, wedge doesn't need it at all. But I don't know if it's because of time travel. There are two Otsutsuki Arashi in this time and space, or Otsutsuki Arashi doesn't have a wedge. This time, when he killed Otsutsuki Arashi, he didn't get a wedge. The look couldn't help sighing. Even if he had expected it, he couldn't help being a little disappointed. But fortunately, this time the most guaranteed income was still obtained. Looking at the right hand in his hand, a smile appeared on Naruto's face. No, wedge, with Rinnegan, is enough for him. Thinking of this, he took out 2 containers and carefully put 2 Otsutsuki-style Rinnegans into them. Then it was sealed into the scroll. These are naturally what he has prepared long ago. Let's go, it's time to go back. When he spoke, Naruto had already calmed down at the moment. For him, even if he didn't get the wedge, he was a bit disappointed, but getting Rinnegan was almost enough. The adult Sasuke nodded and followed Naruto back to the village. At this moment, a famous ninja has rushed out of the village. It's just that when they saw the scenery outside the village, each of them couldn't help but feel their scalps tingling. Such a terrifying terrain change made it impossible for them to imagine what kind of battle they had experienced at this moment. Kakashi jumped quickly. Out of the corner of his eye, he seemed to see something, and turned his head subconsciously. Naruto. Kakashi muttered to himself. He didn't know why. He always felt that the middle-aged man in black beside Naruto made him feel very familiar, but he didn't know what kind of familiarity it was. Kakashi, what's wrong? Guy looked at Kakashi curiously. Nothing. Kakashi shook his head, and the figure moved on. And the adult Sasuke, who was entering the village accurately in the distance, couldn't help but paused, and then continued to move forward. He is not from this era after all. Met Uchiha Itachi, enough for him. As for the others, he didn't intend to meet again. A ninja appeared, and then huge movements spread in all directions. These ninjas began to perform ninjutsu to restore the surrounding terrain. However, this is destined to be a long task. Under this battle, the terrain within tens of thousands of meters of Fangyuan has completely changed. Such a project, even in this era of ninjas, is enormous. Of course, these have nothing to do with Naruto, adult Sasuke, Jiraiya, and Tsunade at this moment. The fighting is over, and Jiraiya and Tsunade need further arrangements for the recovery of the populace. This is bound to be a rather tedious job. After all, Tsunade evacuated everyone for the loss of Konoha people. Even Jonin is no exception. To recover at this moment would naturally be a lot more cumbersome. And Naruto and adult Sasuke also have something to talk about. Jiraiya and Tsunade have nothing to do with them. Thanks for watching.